I learned that at DYT.
Okay. Hello. Hi there. Charlemagne, is we live? Yeah, we are. Looks like it. Hello, humans out there on the Streamiverse. I'm Dan,
And I'm Ceez.
and this is us streaming Power Report Live. I'm gonna get some fancy graphics for this later. Something that delineates that being live is important and cool. But yeah, this is kind of like what we wanted to build Power Report up to be, is like being a live political coverage show, and so we're at the point where we can start doing that a little bit. We're gonna start off trying to be on like a bit of a weekly cadence, but overall,
No, you're good. Yeah.
no, there's just like a weird like Skype buzzing that happens every once in a while that I'll have to like figure out. I'm gonna switch to Discord after this episode, I swear to God. But anyways, so yeah, we're gonna do live weekly episodes of Power Report. Sometimes I'll be alone, sometimes we'll have illustrious guests such as Stream God Ceez over here. And
That's me.
that's you. How you been? How you doing? We were talking a little bit before, but so tell people out there how you're feeling. Actually, it's been a minute since the last PowerPoint episode. It's been a minute since the last PowerPoint panel episode. So curious to know what you're thinking out there. Also, same question goes to the chat out there. I'm monitoring on YouTube and Twitch. So let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also honestly not even that. It's even been a while since I've been on a panel. I was working on some plays, and I was kind of hard scheduling wise, but you know, time has opened itself up a little bit, and the world has gotten worse. So, you know, when duty calls, man, I'm here.
Yeah, Power Report very much operates off of the Winston Churchill paradigm: never let a good crisis go to waste. And so, no, I think, in real seriousness, I think during these kinds of moments, it's more important to be able to have these kind of conversations where people can break down the news, can talk about it as a community together, and yeah, just really kind of process it, because a lot of crazy shit's happening. Let's see. I see chat's already going live. I'm gonna get it to the point where I can get chat live up on the screen, because I'm no longer upset with the aesthetics of that, but I'm more on that to come. But speaking of coming, we made it. Bam says, I saw Hassan wearing that pearl necklace too.
That's an insane
cold.
thing to say. That's an insane thing
cold.
to say. Like literally, as if that man is the only person in the world that's allowed to wear a necklace. Okay, I understand now.
That's wild, dude. I am just changing the titles because Restream's screwing me the hell up over here.
Oh damn, Restream? Ooh, that's a throwback.
Yeah, what's cool to use now?
I think it's just Restream. I don't know. I used to be scared of doing multiple, but I didn't really understand like actual like verbiage on partner programs or not. So I was just like, but I used to do Mixer. I used to use Restream for Mixer back when Mixer was hot, and Twitch back in the day.
There was like a minute and a half when Mixer was hot.
Microsoft was dumping a little bit of money out there, having a little fun, and I was like, hey, maybe I can. No, it did not work out. I did not get the Ninja contract.
One day, this is how we build up to it. All right, this is how we work up to it.
Yes.
All right. I love being able to split both. Okay, so yeah, so now the title's updated. We have some of the topics up here. We're going to be talking about. Sorry to surprise you, Ceez, on this one. There's a surprise story on there. I don't know if you know that our someone's president. I don't know if he even remembers he's president. Joe Biden got the RONA.
Joe Byron.
Joe Brandon.
Not Brandon. Why would they do that to? Come on, Brandon.
Not Brandon.
I was just making fun of Bolsonaro for getting COVID for the 5th time, and then Brandon has to go down too. Damn.
Don't you get something special from Starbucks? No, obviously not the ones that unionize. You can't do that. But don't you get something special from Starbucks the 5th time you catch COVID?
Yeah. I'm sure you get like free alligator tail or something.
Oh God. That Bolsonaro is a guy. Do you have any? We're gonna talk about Drake a little bit. we're gonna warm things up there. But do you have any Bolsonaro thoughts that you want to share? If it's okay if we don't, I was just wondering because maybe we could throw that in later in the show.
I definitely have some Bolsonaro thoughts, and also thoughts. THOTS is also.
Ooh.
It's time is ticking for him. Brazil's election is this year, which I think is going to be huge for the left in South America, for democracy in South America in general. It's going to be big, and we can talk about it later because Bolsonaro is not doing so good right now, polls and health wise.
And all of a sudden, all around the corner, here's something coming. Here comes old Lula Rooney. There's a.
Let's go for the third time, baby. Third time's the charm.
Speakers blasting. Kids scattering.
My big boy, Big Lula coming. Let's go. Bring in the Olympics. I don't know, Winter Olympics. Let's go, dog. Come on.
Yeah, let's do the Winter Olympics in Qatar next. I also do. I think because for folks who don't know, Ceez on We Made It podcast is talking about the all the soccer news that you do. I do maybe want to get your thoughts on the No Nut World Cup, the World Cup in Qatar. The air condition can't do nothing about this.
I have some explosive takes on that. I have some explosive takes. Yeah, and I'm down to talk about it because I think that not only is it weird that would have already been going on, but it's literally not happening till November because it's literally hotter than mercury over there right now. So they made the World Cup in the winter. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Let's do it. There's honestly, I can't really think of a subject I'm not willing to talk to, but we're both thinking about what subjects could we talk to that won't cause us to be insta-banned.
Yeah, I also I do really want to get your thoughts, your takes on how to best do Power Report on Twitch. And I think we'll have that kind of talking shop portion of the show a little bit later, of course, when we're playing video games kind of thing. But sure. I kind of did want to take Bam's cue in chat here and go to the fact that their January 6 hearings, they are happening right now. They are kind of lit. And I think it'll help us go into a little bit of conversation surrounding what we did want to talk about here. Because we haven't been on the panel for a while, I talked with Bam on a recent episode of Power Report that folks can check out. We made that whole January 6 part 1 coverage available for everyone, not even members included, but people who aren't even members. So check that out on the YouTube channel. But as I set this up here, based on what you know from the January 6 hearings, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like they are hitting or impacting public in general? Have you seen people talk about it? Are you learning things from it? Because we were reacting to it kind of in real time in the group chat on January 6th, I remember. And it was a really scary moment for us because we saw everything that was leading up to it. We were covering it on Power Report. But now I think a lot of people are learning about it for the first time. There are new details. Want to get your thoughts as I set this up really fast.
No, you're good. I mean, it's been interesting. I would say that I don't think it's making a significant impact in terms of optically, I can tell from online with social media with people. I know that occasionally things have been brought up here and there. Not every single hearing is bombastic, I guess you'd say. But for me, especially as someone who, cares about politics and wants to know and, still thinks that January 6th act of terrorism that happened in this country is insane. It was one of the craziest moments of my life. Honestly, the last time I even had a reaction about something like that happening here was 9/11. That was the last time I kind of felt really weird seeing something on TV. I was like, what the hell? It was surreal. That looked like a movie, and so did 9/11. It was a surreal moment. So those hearings are really crazy because I think they've done a great job of who would have thought, I'm over here listening to a Cheney telling me, going hard on Republicans. It's a wild setup, but it's cool to see the back behind the scenes, a lot of us, getting to see that, Trump was a big baby. There's a Trump stuff talking about how they would have to organize meetings and make them more fun for him because he gets bored easily and he would pout. and also talking about some of the stuff that's more serious, in terms of on January 6th when he was discussing wanting to go to Capitol Hill and all the other stuff. I think they've done a great job, and it gets pretty intense there, honestly. I think it's a good watch. I think if you're not able to tune into the live, I think it's always good to catch the highlights because you'll definitely watch at least one of those highlights and go, "Oh, whoa, okay, wow." Didn't know that was going down because optically, from January 6th, all we saw was like the weird Rudy Giuliani little press conference did outside. Then we saw Trump doing like his call to arms for the fair skin that he did. Trying to twitch this very carefully.
Yeah, I saw what you did there. I was like,
how to navigate
okay.
this. So yeah, the January 6th hearings are very intense. I think a couple things have been hitting media wise, but nothing like. I think so much has just been going on at one time. It's hard for the January 6th hearings to pick up like intense media steam, and also because Trump is not on Twitter, I think it's also not having the same impact because I know if he was on Twitter, he'd be getting buck wild responding to the some of the stuff coming out from the January 6th hearings. If he had the Twitter, he'd be getting nuts right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the bit with you did a couple weeks ago on Truth Social or whatever. He did something with Elon Musk and talked about how his cars don't work, his cars explode, they go nowhere, his tunnels go nowhere. And Trump knows his tunnels, I tell you what. And he was blasting old boy saying Trump could get Elon Musk to beg if he could, right? Like I do miss that kind of trash talk because I feel like since I'm getting all my sexual innuendos out here, maybe we could talk about how much I should or should not do this on Twitch. I think there's a lot of overstimulation during the years of the Trump administration with people seeing like, oh no, what did he tweet out now? Like, what's going on now? I think people really got into that. And so I think once Biden got elected and it wasn't like, oh no, what is he going to be talking about on any given day or whatever? Like, I think that people are they're disengaging in politics partially because they're no longer being constantly stimulated. Like you get 4 years of this is happening, that's happening. There's so much I can't keep up with it. I have to have all these different news sources to keep up with it. And then there's like almost nothing. The Democrats are doing absolutely nothing. Republicans are causing chaos everywhere. But then that's a little bit of a slow boil because they only have state power. And no one's even reacting to that because it feels like an understimulation because we all feel, oh, Sleepy Joe's in office, that's all fine. I think you need someone. You don't need to be like a raging lunatic. You could be someone like Bernie Sanders who just gets people excited about politics, gets people interested and engaged. I think Obama did this to some extent just through inspiring people. Of course, we know that inspiration can be empty and it only goes so far, but basically he had the bangers.
No, for sure. I think that, you need that. Trump definitely was he was a figure online. Everybody knows that he was that dude. He really held nothing back, and it was insane. Sometimes it was hard to watch. But I think that he did a good job of like he does a good job of getting a lot of engagement, and I think that that's kind of sucks about the Democratic Party or the left or just the other side in general is that there's nobody that really incites that, and when they are, they're like not really. It doesn't work the same. It's like people just see them as just being like social media figures rather than like if someone's similar to Trump. It feels like if they're a Democrat, the perception would just be that they're just all about social media, but it's funny how the perception didn't switch over to Trump. Like no one went like, oh, well, he's just like Trump's just a social media darling. He's just tweeting. No one really did that. Like literally when he was tweeting, it was like enacting bills and stuff. Like damn near wars were started via Twitter. But it was always kind of interesting to me how like, the Republicans were able to garner and Trump was garner so much power on Twitter. And it was scary, but it was like in like a sadistic way. It was kind of fun.
I are you saying like the adrenaline rush of like, oh, this shit could really go down at like any moment?
Yeah, like I think it's more like, well, like, oh, he did not just say that. Oh my God, like that kind of reaction, like and now that, well, ever since he was removed off Twitter, which actually is funny, it's been a while now, a little over a year. It almost feels as if like we still do the whole like, I wonder what he would have responded online to this, like, and like I also have a question for you. Do you think Sleepy Joe is considered even more sleepy because the president before him was so turned up? Like if he was following like George Bush, well, we have been calling him Sleepy Joe. Well, we've been doing that. Like I feel like just because Trump was just keeping everybody on their heels so much on both sides, in good or bad ways, for whatever side you like to vote on, Lord. Eli, I feel like Biden not being like that makes people be like, politics, blah, so boring, because he's so old school. Like he's exactly what a lot of young Americans hate about politics, is that old style, of like traditional politics and the old mumble jumble kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of what they dislike about I'm kind of sorry paying attention to a lot. I think a lot of, to answer your question, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that Donald Trump was such a character in comparison to Joe Biden that it has caused people to go, well, I remember this sugar high. Now I no longer have the sugar, so I'm looking for my next fix elsewhere, whether it's sports, whether it's reality TV, whether it's fentanyl, like whatever. Like I kind of on the real, like. I think that the other thing that pisses people off about Joe Biden, of course, as we are turning to waiting for this like break for the January 6th hearings that we have on the side here, they're going to be on like a little recess thing, a little comeback, and we'll watch it play by play kind of style. But yeah, I think just the fact that what we've been talking about on the show for the past 2 years now, 2 years plus, going back to when we rebranded the show as Power Report from Political Report, we had the guest on saying Kamala Harris is not a change candidate, and she was picked because Joe Biden is not a change kind of candidate, and they're talking a big game, but in reality, once they're elected, you're not going to feel much different, and it's going to be a time where the right's going to be, hate to use the terminology, but loading their ammo for the midterms and for the 2024 general election, and so the Democrats need to be on it, and Sleepy Joe's definitely not going to be on it.
No, I can't, honestly. It makes me uncomfortable even thinking about Joe having someone that's like very much more opinionated or much more active. It would be kind of weird. It seems like he really did pick someone that would like allow him to be the centerfold and allow him to even entertain, rerunning, which to me is, I'm sorry, it's just wild to me. But like, like imagine him with someone like Elizabeth Warren, something like that. You'd be like, what? That's such a polarizing combo. Like, no way, like, so he got someone that's, a cop and is like very much just good at being in the shadows. And also, I'm not gonna lie, those compilations of Kamala talking, they have me scream laughing. They're just too much. They're just too much of her saying stuff like, what was the other one where it was like, yeah, I think that in this country, we need to be a country, that a country is a country. I was like, hell yeah, dog. Yeah. Yeah, there you go, Kamala. Tell them.
it's that we'll reach the opportunity for the potential of a better solution kind of talk. Like it is.
Oh yeah. She definitely was filling up the essay. When your essay is like, you need to get 750 words. You're like, let me just add a couple, just then, done. And among them, and however, and
Dude, I hate empty podium watch. I'm so annoyed with like empty podium watch. I know they have to fill time, but like, I'm getting 2016 flashbacks. I swear. Oh, they have the doors opening. Oh, here they. I hate this news fetishism stuff, dude. Like, with whatever, and Liz Cheney opinions. I hate the patron saint thing that is becoming of her with Democrats, where they're like, there should be a unity ticket where we have Pete Buttigieg and Liz Cheney 2024.
Yo, can you imagine? No, you know what, Dan? No, you're ruining it. You're ruining it. I want Liz Cheney and Buttigieg unity ticket. I want to have a good time.
Stacey Abrams, Liz Cheney. Let's go.
Let's go. Who else? Who else wants to jump in? We can get two unity ticket candidates. Let's have some fun, dog.
Okay, I am going to unmute and we can start going play by play from this. Let me know if you can't hear it on your end, Ceez.
Okay. No worries.
Let me do that.
And if you were in his shoes
and
had the power to end the violence, you would have immediately and forcefully told the rioters to stop and leave. Like, stop and leave. Done. As you heard, that's exactly what his senior staff had been urging him to do. But he resisted, and he kept resisting for another almost 2 hours. In the meantime, all the president did was post 2 tweets. One at 2:38 and the other at 3:13. One said, quote, "Stay peaceful." The other said, quote, "Remain peaceful." But the president already knew that the mob was attacking the police and had invaded the Capitol. Neither tweet condemned the violence or told the mob to leave the Capitol and disperse. To appreciate how obvious it was that President Trump was not meeting this moment, it's helpful to look at the real-time reactions of his own son, Don Jr., to the first tweet, captured in a series of text messages with Mark Meadows. I'll warn the audience that these messages contain some strong language.
No, not Junior.
As you can see, Don Jr. first texted Mr. Meadows at 2:53.
Shout out Don Jr.
He
on
wrote,
Cameo.
"He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough." Mr. Meadows replied, "I am pushing it hard. I agree." Don Jr. responded, "This is one you go to the mattresses on. They will try to fuck his entire legacy if it gets worse." Here's what Don Jr. told us he meant by go to the mattresses.
It's 2:58 when you say that that Mr. Meadows needs to go to the mattresses on this issue. When you say go to the mattresses, what does that mean?
It's just a reference for going all in. I think it's a Godfather reference.
Sean Hannity agreed, and he also turned to Mark Meadows for help after the president's second tweet. As you can see, Mr. Hannity texted at 3:31 to say Trump needed to deliver a statement to the nation telling the rioters to leave the Capitol. Mr. Meadows responded that he was, quote, on it. Don Jr. and Sean Hannity were not the only ones who implored Mr. Meadows to get the president to speak to the nation and tell the mob to leave, to go home. Go home. Throughout the attack, Mr. Meadows received texts from Republican members of Congress, from current and former Trump administration officials, from media personalities, and from friends. Like President Trump's staff, they knew President Trump had to speak publicly to get the mob to stop. Let's look at just a few of these text messages. Fox News personality Laura Ingraham said, "The president needs to tell the people in the Capitol to go home."
Laura Ingraham,
former Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney urged Mark, he needs to stop this now. Fox News personality Brian Kilmeade said, "Please get him on TV, destroying everything that you guys have accomplished."
I'm going to find out what's on Fox right now.
When we interviewed White House counsel Pat Cipollone, he told us that
don't want to fight for freedom?
the president's 2 tweets were not enough.
Bam and I were talking about this on Power Report. Wait, hang on.
I think the question is, did you believe that the tweets were not anything about your advice to the president?
No, I believe more needed to be done. Okay. I believed that a public statement needed to be made.
When you talk about others on the staff thinking more should be done or thinking that the president needed to tell people to go home, who would you put in that category?
Well, I would put Pat Philbin, Eric Hirschman, overall Mark, Meadows, Ivanka. Once Jared got there, Jared,
Throw the whole family
General
away.
Kellogg.
I'll be down. Throw Kellogg in there too.
Probably missing some, but it was
I'm more of a post guy
Kaylee,
myself.
I think was there, but I don't.
Shout out General Mills.
Dan Scavino.
Sorry.
And
Kellogg's are
who
fine
on the
anyways.
staff
Plain ass cereal.
did not want people to leave the Capitol?
Where's she from? Where's
On
she
the
in Colorado
staff.
right now? What's she doing?
In the White
A log
House
cabin?
about
I can't think of anybody, on that day who didn't want people to get out of the Capitol particularly once the violence started. No. I mean,
What about the president?
yeah.
she said the staff. So I answered.
No, I said in the White House.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought you said who else?
Yeah,
on
you
the
better,
staff?
homie. Tell him, Liz. Lawyer said, let's not do this.
I can't reveal communications, but obviously I think,
Well,
my man is doing Jedi mind tricks. I can respect it.
Yeah.
Well, all the equations going over his head.
Let's pause on that last statement.
We lost all communication.
Although Pat Cipollone is being careful about executive privilege, there really is no ambiguity about what he said. Almost everybody wanted President Trump to instruct the mob to disperse. President Trump refused. To understand how inadequate the president's tweets were, let's examine his 238 tweet in more detail. For context, here's what was happening at that time.
Looks peaceful.
They broke the glass.
That's all Antifa.
Doors barricade. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
We were just told that there has been tear gas in the rotunda, and we're being instructed to each of us get gas masks.
I just want to say for the record that Fox News right now, at this very moment, is talking about Biden having COVID.
That there are
really.
I'm being
I swear to God, yeah.
These protesters on the
Their hosts are being like
around
mentioned in
both
live
chambers,
hearings
and
and
there is
he
tear gas
vaccinated?
inside the Capitol rotunda. In fact, members locked in the House are being instructed to put on masks.
Ms. Matthews, after President Trump's tweet about Vice President Pence, you told us you spoke to, immediately, you spoke to Kayleigh McEnany. What did you tell her, and where did she go afterwards?
After the tweet about the vice president, I found Kayleigh and told her that I thought the president needed to immediately send out a tweet that condemned the violence that we were seeing, and that there needed to be a call to action to tell these people to leave the Capitol. And she agreed and walked over to the Oval dining room to find the president.
We interviewed Ms. McEnany and others who were in the dining room with the president, urging him to put out a statement.
Wendy's.
Ms. Matthews, Ms. McEnany told us she came right back to the press office after meeting with the president about this particular tweet. What did she tell you about what happened in that dining room?
When she got back, she told me that a tweet had been sent out, and I told her that I thought the tweet did not go far enough, that I thought there needed to be a call to action and he needed to condemn the violence. And we were in a room full of people, but people weren't paying attention. And so she looked directly at me and in a hushed tone shared with me that the president did not want to include any sort of mention of peace in that tweet, and that it took some convincing on their part, those who were in the room. And she said that there was a back and forth going over different phrases to find something that he was comfortable with. And it wasn't until Ivanka Trump suggested the phrase, "stay peaceful," that he finally agreed to include it.
The president resisted writing "stay peaceful" in a tweet.
She didn't want to put
He
a
told
hashtag
Mark
in there?
Meadows that the rioters were doing what they should be doing, and the rioters understood They were doing what President Trump wanted them to do. President Trump's message was heard clearly by Stop the Steal organizer Ali Alexander. At 2:38, he told another organizer, quote, POTUS is not ignorant of what his words would do. Rioters storming the Capitol also heard President Trump's message. In this video, you'll see surveillance footage from the rotunda that shows a group of Oath Keepers, including Jessica Watkins, who's been charged with seditious conspiracy. You'll hear her walkie-talkie communications with others as they share intelligence and communicate about President Trump's 2:38 tweet in real time. Again, we warn the audience that this clip also contains strong language.
CNN just said that they evacuated all members of Congress into a safety room.
There's no safe place in the United States for any of these motherfuckers right now, let me tell you.
I hope they understand that we are not joking around.
Military Principle 105. Military Principle 105. Cave means grave. Trump just tweeted, please support our Capitol Police. They are on our side. Do not harm them. That's saying a lot by what he didn't say. He didn't say not to do anything to the congressman.
Well, he did not ask them to stand down. He just said, stand by the Capitol Police. They are on our side, and they are good people. So it's getting real down there. I got it on TV, and it's looking pretty friggin' radical to me. CNN said that Trump has egged this on, that he is egging it on, and that he is watching the country burn 2 weeks before he leaves office. He is not leaving office. I don't give a shit what they say.
We are in the mezzanine. We are in the main dome right now. We are rocking it. They're throwing grenades. They're freaking shooting people with paintballs, but we're in here.
Be safe, be safe. God bless and Godspeed, and keep going.
Get it, Jess. Do your shit. This is what we fucking lived up for. Everything we fucking trained for.
Took over the Capitol. Overran the Capitol. We're in the fucking Capitol, bro.
We've now seen how President Trump's supporters reacted to his tweets. Mr. Pottinger, you told us that you consider the tweets sent to this point to be, quote, wholly inadequate given the urgency of the crisis. What, in your view, would have been needed?
Yeah, it was insufficient. I think what you could count me among those who was hoping to see an unequivocal, strong statement clearing out the Capitol, telling people to stand down, leave, go home. I think that's what we were hoping for.
So something a lot more kind of definitive and not ambiguous.
I could do a land acknowledgement.
He has that power over his folks. Ms. Matthews, you told us about a colleague who said during the attack that the
go home,
condemn the violence. Can you please tell us about that moment and your reaction?
You are heard.
Yes, so a conversation started in the press office after the president sent out those 2 tweets that I deemed were insufficient. And a colleague suggested that the president shouldn't condemn the violence because they thought it would be, quote, handing a win to the media if he were to condemn his supporters. And I disagreed. I thought that we should condemn the violence and condemn it unequivocally. And I thought that he needed to include a call to action and to tell these people to go home. And a debate ensued over it, and I became visibly frustrated, and my colleagues were well aware of that, and I couldn't believe that we were arguing over this in the middle of the West Wing, talking about the politics of a tweet, being concerned with handing the media a win when we had just watched all of that violence unfold at the Capitol. And so I motioned up at the TV, and I said, do you think it looks like we're effing winning? Because I don't think it does. And I again reiterated that I thought that the president needed to condemn the violence because it didn't matter if it was coming from the left or the right, that you should condemn violence 100% of the time.
We've heard this evening how everyone in the president's orbit was pushing him to do more, to tell the mob to leave the Capitol. One of those people was Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. He managed to get the president on the phone and told him to call off his supporters. As you will hear, the president refused, and so Leader McCarthy reached out for help to Ivanka Trump, who was at the White House, and Jared Kushner, who that afternoon had just arrived back on a flight from the Middle East.
You're going to use my own woman against me? Wow.
So at some point in the afternoon, Mr. McCarthy placed a phone call to Mr. Scavino's desk line, and it was transferred to the president. Is that correct?
That's generally what I recall.
Okay. Were you involved in transferring that call?
Yes.
Okay. Where was the president at the time that he took that call?
He was in the dining room.
Would you personally reach
She just
out
come
to
back
the
from a job?
president
What is
for
that?
more support?
She was out there running outside?
I've already talked to the president. I called them.
Came out the gym?
I think we need to make a statement, make sure that we can calm individuals down.
Did Mr. McCarthy indicate that he had been in touch with President Trump?
He indicated that he had had some conversation. I don't recall whether it was with the president or with somebody at the White House, but I think he'd expressed frustration that not taking the circumstance as seriously as they should in that moment.
You know, I asked Kevin McCarthy, who's the Republican leader, about this, and he said he called Donald Trump. He finally got through to Donald Trump, and he said, "You have got to get on TV. You've got to get on Twitter. You've got to call these people off." You know what the president said to him? This is as it's happening. He said, "Well, Kevin, these aren't my people. You know, these are Antifa." And Kevin responded and said, "No, they're your people. They literally just came through my office windows, and my staff are running for cover. I mean, they're running for their lives. You need to call
Galaxy brain gaslighting.
My man said it's Antifa.
He said,
goddamn Antifa.
"Well, Kevin, I guess there's
Antifa.
more said about the election, theft than you are." And that's, you've seen widespread reports of Kevin McCarthy and the president having basically a swearing conversation. That's when the swearing commenced, because the president was basically saying, "No, I'm okay with this."
Leader McCarthy, the president of the United States has a briefing room steps from the Oval Office. The cameras are hot 24/7, as you know. Why hasn't he walked down and said that now?
I conveyed to the president what I think is best to do, and I'm hopeful the president will do it.
And have you spoken with his chief of staff?
I've spoken to the president. I've spoken to other people in there and to the White House as well.
Who else reached out to Ms. Trump that you know of that afternoon about the attack on the Capitol?
I believe at one point McCarthy did.
I heard my phone ringing, turned the shower off, saw it was Leader McCarthy, who I had a good relationship with. He told me he was getting really ugly over at the Capitol and said, "Please, anything you could do to help, I would appreciate it." I don't recall specific asks, just anything you could do. Again, I got the sense that, they were scared.
They meaning Leader McCarthy and people on the Hill because of the violence?
He was scared, yes.
Think about that. Leader McCarthy, who was one of the president's strongest supporters, was scared and begging for help. President Trump turned him down. So he tried to call the president's children. Republican House member Mike Gallagher also implored the president to call off the attack.
They called Big Junior?
Mr. President, you have got to stop this. You are the only person who can call this off. Call it off. The election is over. Call it off.
Soft.
Sounds like Glenn Beck, honestly.
Joe Biden also went live on TV to demand that President Trump tell the mob to leave.
Sleepy Joe.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
There was a desperate scramble for everyone to get President Trump to do anything. All this occurred, and the president still did not act. I yield to my friend from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzinger. President Trump finally relented to the pleas from his staff, his family, and from Capitol Hill for him to do something more at 4:17. 187 minutes, more than 3 hours after he stopped speaking at the ellipse.
Okay, Elaine with the gold rope chain.
To a mob that he had sent armed to the Capitol. That's when he tweeted a video telling the rioters to go home. While
Everyone
also
is
telling
fucking caked
them
up
that
right
they
now.
were
It's kind of
special,
great.
and that he
You're
loved
missing
them.
jewelry here. You didn't get some
By
jewelry
that time,
on you.
although the
Some
violence was
jewelry.
far from over, law enforcement had started to turn the tide, reinforcements were on the way, and elected officials were in secure locations. The writing was already on the wall. The rioters would not succeed. Here's what was showing on Fox News, the channel the president was watching all afternoon.
Hell yeah.
Back to Brett Baer with more information now. Brett,
She's
what do you
like,
have?
he was just watching
Our
TV
Pentagon
the
team,
whole
Jen
time.
Griffin, Lucas Tomlinson, confirming the Defense Department has now mobilized the entire D.C. National Guard, 1,800 troops. Take several hours, as I was mentioning before, to get them up and running.
Call the Army, call the
Secretary
Navy, call the
Ron
Coast
McCarthy
Guard.
is setting
She
up
said,
a headquarters
takes them a couple
at the
hours, get them up
FBI.
and
You just
running,
heard
gotta
from
wake
David
them up.
Spunt that the FBI
Get 'em
is
out of
also
Target,
sending troops to the Capitol.
Yeah, you have to download them like Call of Duty.
It's no coincidence
it's a
then
big update.
that President
like 50
Trump
gigs,
finally
it
gave
takes a
in
while.
and went out to the Rose Garden at 4:03. His staff had prepared a script for him to read, but he refused
Hey, you like
to
this?
use it.
I got a little thingy thing.
As
here.
you can see on the screen,
okay.
you can see the script is stamped President has seen. The script said, quote, I'm asking
There
you
we
to
go.
leave the capital
See,
region
now
now
we're
and go
talking.
home in a
You have
peaceful
joined,
way.
Now you have the drip, dog.
The president
now,
was
now you
urged
can
to
speak
stick to
on
this
Trump
script,
if you feel like it. You have drip
but he
now.
spoke
You
off
dripped
the
out.
cuff.
Elaine
Eric
got drip.
Hirschman and
I
Nick
got
Luna
drip. You got
went
drip.
with the
We're all good
president
now.
to film the
Cool.
message in the Rose Garden.
Glad that's all it takes to
Let's
be a
hear what they
qualified
had to
political
say
pundit in
and see the
2022.
never-before-seen
Duh,
raw
duh.
footage of the president
That's some
recording
stupid
this
journal
video
degree.
message.
That's what you're thinking.
Ultimately, these remarks that we're looking at here in Exhibit 25 were not the remarks that the president delivered in the Rose Garden. Do you know why the president decided not to use these?
Because fuck it, we ball.
I don't know, sir.
Yeah.
No, I do not know why.
Come on, Nicholas. You know big
Did
dog.
the president use any written remarks to your knowledge, or did he just go off the cuff?
Trump only freestyles. What
To
the
my
hell?
knowledge, it was off the cuff, sir.
Yeah, there you go. Freestyle. Let's go. Here we go. Here we go.
When you're ready, sir.
You tell me when.
When you're ready, sir.
Who's behind me?
He's gone around. We're all clear now.
My man's a real television personality.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had a election. Let me see.
We've all content creators. We've all
I know
been
you're
there.
hurt. We had an
Let me take it from the
election
top.
that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Yeah, you're
when
not
I got
evil.
there, basically the president just had finished filming the video, and I think he was basically retiring for the day.
Was there any discussion about the president releasing
I'm gonna
a
put in
second video
hours, bro.
that
And
day?
I'm done.
Not that I recall. When he finished his video, I think everyone was like, "Day's over." People were pretty drained.
We're pretty what?
Drained.
Oh.
But we say day over. I mean, there were still people in the Capitol at that point, weren't there?
There were people in the Capitol, but I believe by this stage, law enforcement, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe law enforcement was either there or moving in or going to take charge. I just said people were emotionally drained by the time that videotape was done.
Yeah. Everybody was emotionally drained.
Emotionally drained? At the White House?
Everyone needed a mental health day.
Here's what was happening at the
Is this-
same time at the Capitol. We warn the audience that this clip also contains strong language and
Lib
violence.
mumbo jumbo is emotionally drained. What is that about? Only some pearl necklace wearing, fingernail paint loser would say that. Not a rugged American.
Jesus.
Another officer unconscious. The church. What church?
Everybody, we need gas masks. We need weapons. We need strong, angry patriots to help our boys. They don't want to leave.
And that's why I don't like American flags.
While President Trump refused to even lift another finger to help,
Other
leaders
Elaine, he
honored
was
their
emotionally
oaths
drained.
and
Watch your
acted to
mouth.
clear the Capitol and resume
My
the joint
president,
session.
45th, 45th
For instance,
was
here are
high.
never-before-seen photos and video.
Ceez.
Congressional leaders in action.
I don't know about you, but anytime I have to choke out a dude, I'm real tired after it. I need a little bit of a breather after necking a guy. Pause.
I think you just don't understand that Trump was low-key pro-union and he understood workers' rights and he was tired. He was done. He was tired. He's a man of the union. He's not a union buster.
Mr. Secretary and Senator Schumer, some people here in the Capitol Police believe it will
Some
take
people.
several days to secure the building. Do you agree with that analysis? So what is the earliest that we could safely
Imagine if
resume,
they just camped there for days.
proceedings
Oh
in
my
the Senate and House chambers?
That'd be
The
so
earliest we could
bad.
safely resume.
Occupy.
Occupy Capitol Hill. Do we still get Wall Street back or no?
We are the 2%.
Do we get Wall Street if they get Capitol Hill?
The
What's
vice
the exchange
president
of goods
also
there?
worked the phones
Trade offer.
from his own secure
We can
evacuation
negotiate. See,
location,
and I think
including
that-
conversations
that,
with Acting
that
Secretary
two-party,
of Defense
the bipartisan party
Miller
would run for that.
and other military leaders. Well past President Trump's 417 video, let's look at some never-before-seen photographs of the vice president during this critical time.
Oh.
And hear about the vice president's conversation with military leaders to secure the Capitol and ensure everyone was safe.
Yeah. Slideshow.
Vice President Pence, there were 2 or 3 calls with Vice President Pence. He was very animated, and he issued very
Pence with
explicit,
Oh, I was just hearing about these photos. Yeah.
very direct.
This was
unambiguous
Pence in a
orders.
secret location.
There was no question about that, and he was, and I can get you the exact quotes, I guess, from some
Pence
of
said,
our
"I don't know what
records
tired
somewhere,
is."
but he was very animated, very direct, very firm, and to Secretary Miller. Get the military down here, get the guard down here, put down this situation, etc.
Meanwhile, Trump's
As you heard earlier in the hearing, the president did not call the vice president or anyone in the military, federal law enforcement, or DC government. Not a single person. But General Milley did hear from Mark Meadows. The contrast between that call and his calls with Vice President Pence tell you everything you need to know about President Trump's dereliction of duty. Let's listen.
Yeah, let's do it.
He said, this is from memory.
Right now, Fox is talking about Dave
He
Chappelle
said,
with Adam Carolla.
we have to kill the narrative.
Adam Carolla?
Breaking news. Dave Chappelle's show canceled just hours before
We
scheduled
need to
performance.
establish the narrative that...
This is why we do Power Report.
Yeah,
Because this needs to be for the record.
And that things are steady or stable or what's that thing. I immediately interpret that as politics. Red flag for me personally, no action, but I remember it distinctly.
I remember this from like day 1 or day 2 for the hearing.
I don't do political narratives.
So while President Trump and his advisors were drained, other leaders upheld their oaths to do the right thing. Maybe it was exhausting to get the president to put out that video, but think about the law enforcement officers who were attacked by the mob that day.
Now you're losing
President
me.
Trump had summoned them himself to Washington. And what about President Trump? He watched TV, tweeted, called senators to try to delay the count of electoral votes, called Rudy Giuliani, and argued
on
with his
Twitch.
staff who were insinuating who were insisting that he should call off the attack. Ms. Matthews, what was your reaction to President Trump's message to the mob at 417?
I was struck by the fact that he chose to begin the video by pushing the lie that there was a stolen election. And as the video went on, I felt a small sense of relief
didn't just say
because
so. He said it was
finally
a
told these people to go home.
said,
But
"Yo,
that was
we
immediately
bodied
followed up by him saying, "We love you, you're very special." And
Oh, yeah.
that was
That was
disturbing
the
to
favorite
me
part.
because he didn't distinguish between those that peacefully attended his speech earlier that day and those that we watched cause violence at the Capitol. Instead, he told the people who we had just watched storm our nation's Capitol with the intent on overthrowing our democracy, violently attack police officers, and chant heinous things like "Hang Mike Pence, we love you, you're very special." And as a spokesperson for him, I knew that I would be asked to defend that. And to me, his refusal to act and call off the mob that day and his refusal to condemn the violence was indefensible. And so I knew that I would be resigning that evening. And so I finished out the workday, went home and called my loved ones to tell them of my decision and resigned that evening.
They were like, "How
Thank
dare
you.
you?
Indefensible.
Stand by Trump."
Let's hear what some of your colleagues in the press office told us about their reaction to this same 417 message.
I felt like it was the absolute bare minimum of what could have been said at that point for
This man's
something
name
on
is
camera.
Judd Deere.
What else do you think
can't
should have been said?
This man's name is Judd Deere.
That's pretty rough, yeah.
Yes. That's too much for me.
Judd
2 Ds,
Deere.
And it's too much.
A more forceful.
I do have a good friend named Judd. Come on.
Oh, is it Judd? Is his last name Deere
dismissal
though?
of the violence,
No.
a more forceful command to go home.
I don't believe
a
you.
more forceful
It's him.
respect for law enforcement.
Lies.
Comparison to the respect that we have given law enforcement as it relates to what was done to them in the prior summer. And I thought it was important that an acknowledgement be given to the U.S. Capitol building itself, what it's a symbol of, what it means, not only to the people that work there, but to the American people generally, and the work of Congress that by law needed to be conducted that day.
Do you wish, in hindsight, that the president had asked the protesters to leave the Capitol earlier than he ended up asking them to do?
Of course, I would love if the go home message would have happened earlier in the day.
The president's words matter. We know that many of the rioters were listening to President Trump. We heard from one last week, Stephen Ayers. Let's listen to what he had to say about the 417 message from the president and see how rioters reacted to the president's message in real time.
Well, when we were there, as soon as that come out, everybody started talking about it, and it seemed like it started to disperse, some of the crowd.
I'm here delivering the president's message. Donald Trump has asked everybody to go home. That's our order.
He says go home.
Daddy said go home. Daddy said go home.
But just as Mr. Ayers said,
Daddy
police were
said
still
it. We
fending
gotta go,
off the
guys.
last
No more
throes of the
fun.
brutal assault. I
I'm
yield to
delivering
the
a
gentleman
message
from
from Daddy.
Illinois.
You gotta go home.
While everyone else was working to get Congress back in session, what did President Trump do? At
Eat
6:01, just 1 minute after the citywide curfew went into effect, he posted his last tweet of the day. After officers engaged in multiple hours of hand-to-hand combat, with over 100 of them sustaining injuries, President Trump tweeted at 6:01 and justified the violence
These
as
the
a
things that
natural
happen.
response to the election.
Hey, this happens when you run
He
up
said,
on your
quote,
boy,
"These are the
goddammit.
things and
Damn.
events that happen when a sacred landslide victory is so unceremoniously, viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly, unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and peace. remember this
Peace,
day
love, and gap.
forever.
No.
He called
Peace,
the mob
love.
great patriots. He told people to remember the day forever. He
Don't you forget
showed
about this day.
absolutely no remorse. A few minutes later, at 6:27, the president left the dining room and he went up to the White House residence for the night. On the screen is the last photograph of the president that night as he went into the residence. As he was gathering his things in the dining room to leave, President Trump reflected on the day's events with a White House employee. This was the same employee who had met President Trump in the Oval Office after he returned from the ellipse. President Trump said nothing to the employee about the attack. He said only, quote, "Mike Pence let me down."
Jesus
Ms.
Christ.
Matthews, what was your reaction to President
Dude.
Trump's 601 tweet?
Poor Mike.
I need loyalty. I expect loyalty,
At
Michael.
that point, I had
Why
already
was he
made
not
the decision
sitting
to
watching Fox
resign,
News with me?
and this tweet just further
I
cemented
expect
my
loyalty,
decision.
Michael.
I thought
had
that
one
January
job,
6th,
Pensy,
2021
one
was one
job.
of the darkest days in our nation's history, and President Trump was treating it as a celebratory occasion with that tweet. And so it just further cemented my decision to resign.
Others agreed with your assessment of that tweet. Let's look at what they had to say.
Who asked you about this tweet before it was sent?
The president.
Tell us about that conversation and everything that you said and he said to the best of your recollection.
Love these
Sure.
pictures.
So he said, "What do you think of this?" And I believe I saw the text message or on his phone. And I remember saying to him, the wording on the first sentence, I guess it's one long sentence, but the wording on the first sentence would lead some to believe
bit of a
that
run-on
potentially he
for
had
president.
something to do with
Banger.
the events.
He said, yeah,
that
what if he
happened
said
at
it,
the
man?
Capitol.
President, the first sentence, banger.
What did he say?
I don't recall him saying anything in response to that. I believe that was the end of the conversation.
I believe he dapped
Did
me
he
up.
change
a lot.
anything in light of your comments?
No, sir, he did not.
And what about this
He's an assistant.
made you think that someone might perceive the president having a role in the
Kings
violence
don't
of the
listen to
Capitol?
peasants.
It was my interpretation of the
The
words.
fucking
I mean,
assistant.
I'm not I don't write speeches or anything, but the phrase, "these are the things that happened," to me sounded as if culpability was associated with it. To me.
Oh,
I
To
don't
me.
think it's a patriotic act to attack the Capitol, but I
I don't know.
have
Sounded
no
a little,
idea,
sounded a little sus, sounded a little
how to
culpable.
characterize the people other than they
not one with the
trespassed,
speeches,
destroyed
but,
property, and assaulted the U.S. Capitol. I think calling them patriots
that
is,
run-on was a little passive-aggressive. President.
let's say, a stretch, to say the least.
Is that all it is, a stretch, or just flatly wrong?
I don't think it's a patriotic act to attack the U.S. Capitol.
Would you call it unpatriotic?
Criminal, unpatriotic, sure.
Who is this guy?
Oh my God!
Former fashion. It was wrong and it was tragic.
Don't mispronounce Pat Ceez' name. You'll be called an Italian racist by Laura Ingraham. That shit actually happened.
I'd be down if he was like, I wouldn't say all that now.
I thought it was inappropriate.
Pat Cipollini.
Why?
Shipippa Cipollini.
To my mind, it was a
Cipollini.
day that should be remembered in infamy. That wasn't the tenor of this tweet.
Despite the violence of the day, the
Tomos
effort
Mundo
to
on
delay the
YouTube saying Pence very
certification
animated.
continued.
Yeah.
That evening, Rudy Giuliani called several.
I'm kind of surprised too. Pence being animated didn't consult his mom wife first.
The joint session resumed. Representative Jim Jordan and Senators Marsha Blackburn, Tommy Tuberville, Bill Haggerty, Lindsey Graham,
Tommy.
Josh Hawley, and Ted Cruz. We know why Mr. Giuliani was
These are
calling
like
them,
plantation
because at
goon
7:02, he left a voice
Tommy
message
Tuberville, Tommy
which later
Tuberville,
became public.
Josh
Let's
Hawley,
listen to just the start.
Jefferson Beauregard Sessions.
Senator Tuberville, or I should say Coach Tuberville, this is Rudy Giuliani,
Woo!
president's lawyer. I'm calling you because I want to discuss with you.
There's a
how
cocky
you're trying to
lawyer
rush
call.
This hearing and how we need
Giuliani
you,
never
our
heard of a
Republican
phone tap in his
friends,
goddamn life.
to try to just slow it down so we can get these legislatures to get more information to you.
Giuliani, my man.
Mr. Giuliani did not even mention the attack on the Capitol. Instead, he was pushing on behalf of President Trump to get members of Congress to further delay the certification. Even though some members did proceed with objections, Vice President Pence and Congress stood firm and successfully concluded the joint session in the early morning hours of January 7th. Here are some of what members of the president's party said in the days and weeks after the attack.
There's no question, none, that President
They call
Trump
me
is
Big
practically
Mitch.
and
Larry
morally
Hoover.
responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it. The people who stormed this building believed they were acting on the wishes and instructions of their president. And having that belief was a foreseeable consequence of the growing crescendo of false statements.
Mitch
like
McConnell would listen to his audio faces.
And reckless
I do enjoy that he used crescendo. That was
which
good.
the
that was
defeated
good writing.
president kept shouting into the largest megaphone on planet Earth.
The violence.
I do remember like the 3 or 4 days where like Republicans were like, "Oh shit, this might kind of be bad," and then a week later they were like, "Yeah, fucking Trump, whatever." Democrats did steal the election.
It was the saddest day.
Yeah, they were like,
I've
dude,
ever
this
had
is not
serving
good.
as a member of
But
this institution.
They were reading
Members
the
were weird.
they were reading the room the first 2 days. They were reading the room and then they were like, let's test the water with this lying about it. And they're like, oh, we can do it. Let's go.
They're like, oh,
And the
nothing
president
happens to
should
us?
never have spun up certain Americans to believe something that simply cannot be.
It's like that moment in the Boondocks, the N-word moment episode, where it's like, let's see what happens when this happens to a white man. And he goes, wait a minute. I'm white. And just walks away, calm, cool, collected. He's like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. Never mind.
Stuck with his big lie that the election was stolen. But he did say there would be an orderly transition. We learned, though, that the statement was not necessarily his idea. Jason Miller, a campaign advisor, told us that after the joint session started, he heard nothing from President Trump or the White House about assuring the nation that the transfer of power would take place. So Mr. Miller took it upon himself to draft the statement and call the president at 9:23 that night to convince him to put it out.
You disagree with something that you put in the statement, some particular word or phrase that he did not want included.
Just admit it's Alex Jones under that mask.
He wanted to say peaceful transition, and I said that ship's kind of already sailed, so we're going to say orderly transition. That was about the extent of disagreement or pushback from the conversation.
Colin Trump.
The last person President Trump spoke to by phone that night was Johnny McEntee, his head of personnel. Mr. McEntee told us that they talked about the events of the day and the multiple resignation by administration officials. The decision whether to resign was one that weighed heavily on people in the administration. On the one hand, people like Mr. Pottinger and Ms. Matthews here, as proud as they were to have served, refused to be associated with President Trump's dereliction of duty. But others were sincerely worried that leaving President Trump to his own devices would put the country at continued risk. Listen to what we heard about that tension from Pat Cipollone, from General Mark Milley, and Eugene Scalia, who was the Secretary of Labor.
Run this clip. Run this clip.
After that, some people were resigning, obviously, over January 6th. We know who they were. Did I consider it? Yes. Did I do it? No. Concerned about is if people in the counsel's office left, who would replace me? And I had some concerns that it might be somebody who, had been giving bad advice.
On the morning of the 7th, the decision I arrived at was that the most constructive thing I could think of was to seek a meeting of the cabinet. I thought that trying to work within the administration to steady the ship was likely to have greater value than simply resigning, after which point I would have been powerless to really affect things with the administration.
Gene thought that there should be a cabinet meeting.
Another one.
Do you know why that would not be?
I don't remember why. I think it probably had something to do with Mark's view of how the president might react and that but things like that.
Now, there was a couple of the calls where, Meadows and/or Pompeo, but more Meadows. How's the president doing? Like Pompeo might say, "How's the president doing?" And Meadows would say, "Well, he's in a really dark place." Here's one, for example. On the 7th of January. So this is day after, right?
In a dark place.
POTUS is very emotional and in a bad
He
place.
needs a mental health break.
As you heard, Secretary Scalia wanted President Trump to convene a cabinet meeting. He put his request in a memo to the president, and here's what it said.
Remember to reach out to your friends.
You can see that Secretary Scalia recommended that
you never
the
know where they're
president
hurting, what they're
no
feeling.
longer publicly question the election results. After Wednesday, no one can deny
We all
this is
fight
part of
invisible
the-
battles, you know?
Secretary Scalia also highlighted the importance of the public knowing the president would invoke his cabinet in decision-making and not, quote, certain private individuals. Though Secretary Scalia did not say it, he was referring to Rudy Giuliani and the rest of the so-called clown car working with President Trump to try to overturn the election. Secretary Scalia understood that the president needed to do more to reassure the public about the last few weeks of the Trump administration. Mr. Pottinger, when you made the decision to resign, did you walk out of the White House immediately?
No, I wanted to
Stay like a man.
talk to my immediate boss.
I'm not
that
like
was
the
the
president.
National Security
I
Advisor,
stayed.
Robert O'Brien. Robert O'Brien was
I'm not the
traveling
stepdad.
on the
I'm the
6th.
dad who stepped up.
I reached him at about 4:30 p.m. And told him that I was submitting my resignation. He accepted the resignation, but he also asked whether I could stay until he could get back to the White House. And I agreed to that. We both wanted to
It's
make
like a
sure that I
breakup.
was leaving in a responsible way. We still have foreign adversaries
you
to
don't wanna
worry
just,
about,
like, drop
hackers,
them, man. You gotta do it
terrorists, nation states.
And
I did not want to leave my chair empty, given that I was the top national security staffer in the White House.
We're just flexible.
So
We're
I
so
ended up
flexible
staying at my desk through the night. When Robert O'Brien arrived back at the White House
just so y'all know who
the
you're
next
dealing
morning, the morning of the 7th, I debriefed with him and left for the last time.
So you and I both share a passion for national security of our country. Can you share with me what's your
We both
view
tortured some
on
folks,
how
all right?
January
We
6th
tortured some folks.
impacted our national security?
Well, when you have a presidential transition, even under the best circumstances, it's a time of vulnerability. It's a time of vulnerability. And when you have a contested election, I was certainly concerned that some of our adversaries would be tempted to probe or test U.S. resolve.
Euphemisms.
As an example,
euphemisms, yes. I wasn't born here, Dan. Relax.
The Iranian government attacked the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. They did that using some of their terrorist proxies. President Trump did handle that. He sent a very clear warning to the Ayatollah and his regime, which I think had a useful effect. I think that we would have handled other threats of that nature, and luckily no other threats materialized before the inauguration on the 20th. But our national security was harmed in a different way by the 6th of January, and that is that it...
Big Ayatollah, dog.
I think it emboldened our enemies by helping give them ammunition to feed a narrative that our system of government doesn't work, that the United States is in decline. China, the
They're not wrong,
Putin regime
though.
in Russia, Tehran,
They're fond of pushing those kinds of narratives, and by the way, they're wrong. We've been hearing for the entirety of U.S. history.
They're very much not
kings
wrong.
And despots that the United States is in decline.
They're right.
Those kings and despots have been proven wrong every single time.
They were ahead of their time. They were ahead of their time.
Feed a perception.
Sometimes you get the prediction right, but the timing wrong. Let's give it to them.
The other part I think is simply our allies. I heard from a lot of friends in Europe, in Asia, allies, close friends, and supporters of the United States that they were concerned about the health of our democracy. And so I think it's incumbent upon us to put their minds at ease, to put our own hearts at ease, by investigating what happened on the 6th and making sure that it never happens again.
What's the country?
Look, I've always said democracies are not defined by
I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to
how
him.
they recover from those bad days.
I just want to talk to
him. That's what we're doing here.
I just want to talk to him.
Hey, what's going on over there? So we can actually come back even stronger than when we went into January 6th. Ms. Matthews, as you left the White House for the last time that night, January 6th, what did you think Americans needed to hear from President Trump?
This is the stupidest question ever.
I think that the American people needed to hear and see him publicly commit to a peaceful or at least orderly transition of power. In the aftermath of the Capitol attack, it wasn't just enough for us to ask him to condemn the violence. He needed to agree that he would peacefully transfer power over to the incoming administration, because that's one of our fundamentals and what it means to live in a democracy. And so that evening when I resigned, the resignation statement that I drafted, I referenced this and I said our nation needs a peaceful
Who's the
transfer
sleepy
of power
black lady behind the blonde one? Jesus Christ,
some sort
man.
of public pressure on the White House and President Trump to publicly agree to an orderly
It's late over there on the
transition.
East Coast. Give him credit.
Thank you. I yield to my friend from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzinger.
Give everyone
The
there
staff
some
who remained
like,
at the White House on the
realization.
morning of January 7th knew the president needed to address the nation again, and they had a speech prepared for him that morning, but he refused for hours to give it. As you heard Cassidy Hutchins testify previously, President Trump finally agreed to record an address to the nation later that evening, the evening of January 7th, because of concerns he might be removed from power under the 25th Amendment or by impeachment. We know these threats were real. Sean Hannity said so himself in a text message that day
Yes!
to Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. He wrote,
Why'd they have to
"No
wait till
more
Sean
stolen
Handy's off
election
air to
talk.
do this?
Yes, impeachment and 25th Amendment are real.
Sean Hannity dropping bullet
We
points.
obtained the never-before-seen raw footage of the
Sean
president
Hannity
recording
texting like me.
his address to the nation that day on January 7th,
can we
more
get
than
one behind
24 hours after the last time he had addressed the nation from the Rose Garden. Let's take a look.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Shut up.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. You do not represent our movement. You do not represent our country. And if you broke the law, you can't say that. I'm not going to, I already said you will pay. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well. Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to do this. Let's go.
Teleprompter
But
Don.
This election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying
Oh
the
my
election's
god.
over, okay?
As a content creator, this is actually... It's good to see everyone does it.
I didn't say over, so let me see. Go to the paragraph before. Okay?
He had no idea what was going to be the prompter.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me. Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with the heinous attack on our country. Say on our country.
I want to see Trump
say that?
first.
My only goal was to ensure the
Yesterday.
integrity of the vote.
Integrity.
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
Yes!
On January 7th, one day after he incited an insurrection,
Everybody who does
yo,
you know the
President Trump
is busting
still could not say that the election was over.
No, everybody who does scripts like that, we do the same shit. That's so funny.
In the Marines and as an official in the executive
Decline to state.
branch.
I don't care. I'm not speaking here.
Can you please share with us your view about the oath of office and how that translates into accepting election results and a transfer of power?
Let's hear this.
You know, this isn't the first time that we've had a close election in this country. And President Trump certainly had every right to challenge in court the results of these various elections. But once you've had due process under the law,
let's see that again. Let's just watch that again. Come on.
The law, no matter how bitter the result. Once you've presented
the election's over, I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
It's too good. One more time.
Now Congress.
Yeah, like
Now Congress.
I didn't say over, so let me see. Go to the paragraph before. Okay? I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me.
Just take that. The heinous attack.
Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with
Jesus Christ, bro.
the heinous attack
Come on.
on our country. Say on our
Where's the
country.
flow? Where's the flow?
Say that?
No,
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
Of the vote. Of the vote.
No, the way he smacks the podium, like, we've all done it. Come on. I'm sorry.
Vote.
45. Man. Big.
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
Literally, me every day.
Gives a light smack, just like a smack that. Smack that.
Trump is very human right here.
lost his election bid and allowed.
We've all been a little bit on one after losing our election bids, you know.
Yeah. Trump is showing me very much theater kid vibes now. He's a theater kid.
President George W. Bush to take office.
He's a thespian.
But people, and for the strength of our democracy, I also am going to concede. I'm going to support the new president. His speech is actually a pretty good model, I think, for any candidate for any office, up to and including the president, and from any party to read, particularly right now. The oath that our presidents take, it's very similar to the oath of office I took as a U.S. Marine officer and the oath I took as a White House official. It is to support and defend the Constitution. It's to protect the Constitution, to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution. And it is a sacred oath. It's an oath that we take before our families. We take that oath before God. I think that we have an obligation to live by that oath. I do still believe that we have the most ingenious system of government on earth, despite its imperfections. I don't envy countries that don't have this system that actually allows for a predictable, peaceful transfer of government every 4 to 8 years, and it's not something that we should take for granted.
Thank you. As we heard at the start of the hearing, in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy understood that President Trump bore responsibility for that day and should have taken immediate action to stop the violence. He was even more candid in calls with Republican colleagues. As you'll hear in a moment, recordings of some of these calls that were later published by the New York Times, the context for these calls was that a resolution had been introduced in the House calling for Vice President Pence and the cabinet to remove President Trump from power under the 25th Amendment. Let's listen.
I've had it with this guy. What he did is unacceptable.
Amazing.
Nobody can defend that, and nobody
This is
should
a Republican
defend it.
speaking.
The only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation you should resign. I mean, that would be my take, but I don't think he would take it. But I don't know.
Oh, but AOC is just overblowing it.
But let me be very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No, he
I
doesn't.
asked him personally today.
Fuck you.
Does he hold
No booty
responsibility
cheeks.
for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened. And he needs to acknowledge that.
President Trump has never publicly acknowledged his responsibility for the attack. The only time he apparently did so was in that private call with Kevin McCarthy. There's something else President Trump has never acknowledged: the names and the memories of the officers who died following the attack on the Capitol.
Ooh.
We're honored to be joined tonight by police and first responders who bravely protected us on January 6th. Your character and courage give us hope that democracy can and should prevail, even in the face of a violent insurrection. We on this dais
That's how you run a hearing.
can never thank you enough for what you did to protect our democracy.
Just bring him there for
On
the panning
January
shot.
9th, two of President Trump's top campaign
Yeah.
officials
Yeah,
texted
where
each
the
other
cops? That took so
about the president's glaring silence on the tragic death of
Where are the
Capitol
Secret
Police
Service agents
Officer
that deleted their
Brian
text
Sicknick,
messages?
who succumbed to his
Yeah.
injuries the night of January 7th. These campaign officials were Tim Murtaugh, Trump's director of communications, and one of his deputies, Matthew Walking. Their job was to convince people to vote for President Trump, so they knew his heart, his mind, and his voice as well as anyone. And they knew how he connects with his supporters. Here's what they had to say about their boss. Murtaugh said, "Also shitty not to have acknowledged the death of the Capitol police officer." Walking responded, "That's enraging to me. Everything he said about supporting law enforcement was a lie."
Surprise
To which Murtaugh
Pikachu
replied,
face. Trump
"You know what
lies?
this is?
You
Of
know what
course,
it is. You know what
if he
it
acknowledged
is.
the dead cop, he'd be implicitly faulting the mob. And he won't do that because they're his people. And he would also be close to acknowledging that what he lit at the rally got out of control. No way he acknowledges something that could ultimately be called his fault.
These man babies that are here honestly don't believe how Trump works. This is white privilege in a nutshell, like white male privilege. Everyone else in the country at this point, like 99.99% through the Trump presidency, after the boss battle has been defeated, when the cutscenes are about to roll, we all know this about Trump, and they're like, wow, so you mean he doesn't mean what he says? So he doesn't even like his own supporters. So he's only in it for himself? So he'll lie to anyone? No way!
No.
Come on.
A shrewd businessman with a history of doing this would ever do that? I don't think you know what you're talking about.
To be this naive, which goes to like along with white privilege, sometimes goes white naivete, because you give these people the benefit of the doubt, which is like, it goes into the Kyle Kulinski, Joe Rogan thing, which maybe we'll have time for tonight, maybe we won't, but like, God, like that just really set me off right there. Okay, I'll keep playing it.
No way. President Trump did not then and does not now have the character or courage to say to the American people what his own people know to be true. He is responsible for the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Thank you, and I yield to the gentleman from Illinois.
Stay up, Blaine.
Thank you, Ms. Loria.
Who trains?
Tonight's testimony and evidence is as sobering as it is straightforward. Within minutes of stepping off the ellipse stage, Donald Trump knew about the violent attack on the Capitol. From the comfort of his dining room, he watched on TV as the attack escalated. He sent tweets that inflamed and expressed support for the desire of some to literally kill Vice President Mike Pence. For 3 hours, he refused to call off the attack.
Not my boy Mike, dog.
Donald
Not Big
Trump
Mike.
refused to take the urgent advice he received that day. Not from his political opponents or from the liberal media, but from his own family, his own friends, his own staff, and his own advisors. In the midst of an attack, when there was no time for politics, the people closest to Trump told him the truth. It was his supporters attacking the Capitol, and he alone could get through to them. So they pled for him to act, to place his country above himself. Still, he refused to lead and to meet the moment to honor his oath. It was only once the vice president and the members of Congress were in secure locations and the officers defending the Capitol began to turn the tide that then President Trump engaged in the political theater of telling the mob to go home. And even then, he told them all they were special and that he loved them.
Aww.
Whatever your politics, whatever you think about the outcome of the election, we as Americans must all agree on this. Donald Trump's conduct on January 6th was a supreme violation of his oath of office and a complete dereliction of his duty to our nation. It is a stain on our history. It is a dishonor to all those who have sacrificed and died in service of our democracy. When we present our full findings, we will recommend changes to laws and policies to guard against another January 6th. The reason that's imperative is that the forces Donald Trump ignited that day have not gone away. The militant, intolerant ideologies, the militias, the alienation and the disaffection, the weird fantasies and disinformation. They're all still out there, ready to go. That's the elephant in the room. But if January 6th has reminded us of anything, I pray it has reminded us of this. Laws are just words on paper. They mean nothing without public servants dedicated to the rule of law and who are held accountable by a public that believes oaths matter more than party tribalism or the cheap thrill of scoring political points. We, the people, must demand more of our politicians and ourselves. Oaths matter. Character matters. Truth matters. If we do not renew our faith and commitment to these principles, this great experiment of ours, our shining beacon on a hill, will not endure. I yield to the gentlewoman from Virginia.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzinger. Throughout our hearings, we've provided many facts and painted a vivid picture of the events of January 6th.
Wrapping up the essay here.
Violence, the human toll, both emotional and physical, including the tragic loss of life. The threats to our Constitution, the rule of law, and the danger to this nation. A nation we all love as Americans. In tonight's hearing, we've gone into great detail about the events inside the White House on January 6th. We've described how the President of the United States, who was bound by oath to the Constitution and by duty to ensure the laws are faithfully executed, took no action when the cornerstone of our democracy, a peaceful transition of power, was under attack. But it's more than that. Donald Trump summoned a violent mob and promised to lead that mob to the Capitol to compel those he thought would cave to that kind of pressure. And when he was thwarted in his effort to lead the armed uprising, he instigated the attackers to target the vice president with violence. a man who just wanted to do his constitutional duty. So in the end, this is not, as it may appear, a story of inaction in a time of crisis. But instead, it was the final action of Donald Trump's own plan to assert the will of the American people and remain in power. Not until it was clear that his effort to violently disrupt or delay the counting of the election results had failed did he send a message to his supporters in which he commiserated with their pain, and he told them affectionately to go home. That was not the message of condemnation and just punishment for those who broke the law that we expect from a president whose oath and duty is to ensure the laws are faithfully executed. But instead, it was his newest version of stand back and stand by. To me, this is personal. I first swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against enemies foreign and domestic when I entered the U.S. Naval Academy at age 17. I spent 2 decades on ships at sea, defending our nation from known and identifiable foreign enemies who sought to do us harm. I never imagined that that enemy would come from within. I was not as prescient as Abraham Lincoln, who 23 years before the Civil War said, if destruction be our lot,
This is the part I'm kind of like bored with, really. Like it's all just like sort of like pontificating politically about, oh, America is like a poetically like place, and wow, Donald Trump messed things up so badly. Like you even kind of heard it here. Who they're trying to appeal to are people who are saying like, listen, America was fine, America was great. Donald Trump came in, and listen, even some of the things that Donald Trump did or maybe fine, we maybe agree or disagree with, but you know, ultimately this one act on January 6th should be something we can all agree on that's bad. And part of me, I had Fox News on while I was like doing this live stream right now, while we're watching these different things happening, and I was like, okay, when they were mentioning Ingram and things like that, Sean Hannity happened to be on moments before that, and he was talking about what, like, yeah, basically they were mentioning him during the hearings, and they were going into how Sean Hannity was Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham were warning the Trump team, the Trump campaign, about permanently damaging their reputations, right? Yeah. They're on Fox News tonight on their lazy, usual, like, I forget, I pay no attention to cable news, and then I look at the whole thing again, I'm like, how does this make so much money? or like, why does
their
this...
viewership is insane.
Or like, why does this justify? Because it's really just a 1-hour show repeated 8 times a day with like slight variations here and there. So like, you can do it with one team, but they just keep going on with it. And so like, what they were showing on Fox News while they had the January 6th hearings, I wasn't flipping through CNN or MSNBC because, quite frankly, the hearings don't affect them, because Joe Brandon, or even Barack Obama, okay, like, let's say, okay, Joe Brandon's not sentient enough to send a text message, most likely, although to be fair, he can tell his son he loves him, so there's that. But
I'm not gonna be on this show if we're gonna be doing Hunter Biden disses, though. That's my dog right there, big Hunter dog.
Hunter Biden is who Don Jr. wishes he was.
Yeah, absolutely. Don Jr. is like, can someone please hack my laptop? I swear I do that too. I'm like,
if Don Jr.'s laptop were hacked, it'd just be like him masturbating with a jar of mayonnaise, right? Like, it would be completely pitiful. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, Obama wasn't sending text messages to hosts on CNN. Okay, like, he wasn't. Obama and Keith Olbermann weren't getting it down in BlackBerry Messenger back
Peter
in the
Jennings
day.
Wasn't like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So like, you have Fox hosts who, as they are being indicted, you know, publicly on TV at least, like they're showing in the press, here's how you took the mask off for a moment not in the usual Fox News way, but you were like, you broke character is what I'm trying to say. And you went,
absolutely.
Oh, wait, this could actually be bad. Trump, you need to tap the brakes here. Like I said with Bam back in the episode, you're lost in the sauce. Fox News is the sriracha factory, so we know what we're talking about. You need to stop here before people actually get killed, and even Fox News does not save you. Because there was a time in the primaries, the 2016 primaries, where like Fox was with Trump, but there were times when they're like, we might not hold on, we might not ride with you for this long, boy. You got to prove to us that you can make this work, because we're not going to stick our necks out for you for this. We got 16 other Republican bozos to stick our necks out for, but Trump was able to prove that, listen, I'm Teflon Don. If you stick with me, everything else is going to fall off.
To the moon, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really weird that like it's a bunch of reporters being like, tell him to stop. Tell him to knock it off right now. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny. Like it literally oh damn, Steve Bannon, wow. And then it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, all of a sudden it's gone too far for you because you were kind of down all up until it got real, weren't you?
Let's go into what Steve Bannon's saying here. It's basically Bannon's going into saying that he's detailing how Trump is going to declare victory.
By 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier.
Showing us a premeditated plan.
He's sit right there and said they stole it. If Biden's winning, Trump is going to do some crazy shit.
And of course, 4 days later, President Trump declared victory when his own campaign advisors told him he had absolutely no basis to do so. What the new Steve Bannon audio demonstrates is that Donald Trump's plan to falsely claim victory in 2020, no matter what the facts actually were, was premeditated. Perhaps worse, Donald Trump believed he could convince his voters to buy it, whether he had any actual evidence of fraud or not. And this same thing continued to occur from Election Day onward until January 6th. Donald Trump was confident that he could convince his supporters the election was stolen, no matter how many lawsuits he lost, and he lost scores of them. He was told over and over again in immense detail that the election was not stolen. There was no evidence of widespread fraud. It didn't matter. Donald Trump was confident he could persuade his supporters to believe whatever he said, no matter how outlandish, and ultimately that they could be summoned to Washington to help him remain president for another term. As we showed you last week, even President Trump's legal team, led by Rudy Giuliani, knew they had no actual evidence to demonstrate the election was stolen. Again, it didn't matter. Here's the worst part. Donald Trump knows that millions of Americans who supported him would stand up and defend our nation were it threatened. They would put their lives and their freedom at stake to protect her. And he is preying on their patriotism. He is preying on their sense of justice. And on January 6th, Donald Trump turned their love of country into a weapon against our Capitol and our Constitution. He has purposely created the false impression that America is threatened by a foreign force controlling voting machines, or that a wave of tens of millions of false ballots were secretly injected into our election system, or that ballot workers have secret thumb drives and are stealing elections with them. All complete nonsense.
He was kind of just throwing stuff out there.
That we cannot abandon the truth.
Like kind of you were saying there, Ceez, are like, oh,
in late November
look at
while President Trump
how
was still
Steve
pursuing
Bannon's untouchable.
lawsuits, many of us
I think
were urging him to put
Trump was just throwing stuff against the wall to see what stuck, and he was allowed to do that for 4 years. Like, a lot of my being dumbfounded during the Trump administration was the fact that, like, wait, he's just getting away with this? It's like that meme from the movie. He can't keep getting away with this.
And man, did he. Like, for a while there, too. I mean, it's crazy. He's even if he's rerunning now, he's still kind of doing the same stuff. He's like using the same material.
They were all telling
It's going more blue lately. He's cursing more.
I was telling my colleagues.
On the string.
There was no evidence of fraud
on the
or
pulpit.
irregularities sufficient to change the election outcome. Our courts had ruled.
But literally, like, there's, like, I don't. Yes, this was premeditated and planned out, and Trump was a bumbling idiot. Because literally, like, the night of the election, the days following the election, we remember that. There was like, hey, the whole election's fraud, the whole election's fake. But also, they need to stop counting votes over here, and they need to keep counting votes over there. It's just like, it's,
Bruh.
It's like, if it were premeditated, and it was premeditated, but like, it also just wasn't clean. Like, we also need to be talking about how, like, guys, this was the most obvious kind of heist ever. If we're not going to punish this, we're not going to punish it when someone, like, 20% more competent, even 10% more competent, tries this again. And I think the one good point that was made by Kinzinger earlier there was that there's nothing stopping this from happening again. Very, very, very soon, because the same Trump people, if it's not Trump, it's all the same Trump voters, all the same Trump Republicans, all the same ones who looked the other way when Trump was doing all this stuff. They're still in the party, and they're still vying for power, and they still have a lot of power.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think that's why, was it Schwinger made sure to make the point that they want to suggest some bills to pass to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. But I'm like, I don't know what you thought, but this is literally a country that is built on the rioting and protesting, and I can imagine, I wouldn't see it crazy for after all the access they had before. You got people thinking real comfortable, like, you know what?
I mean,
do what I want.
I just hate that we have people who are elected in office with the power to write laws, who, I understand it's like hard and you can't just like declare things and rule things, but they have to fight for these things as well. But they sound like those kids who would joke back in middle school, who would be like, hey, you know what? I want to start a petition. And then they would go on some like dumb thing they were talking about. Like,
yeah,
it is a joke, literally.
Absolutely.
The Vice Chair, Liz Cheney,
all right.
adjourning the meeting.
Big Lizzie.
Say their work will continue, but this very much sounded like
that be the end.
Certainly, of this
we are adjourned
chapter of their investigation.
So yeah, this Cheney's basically said that, like, you know, their work continues, but this is the end of these series of hearings. And, you know, as we kind of wrap those up here, what do you, other than, like, you know, abolish yesterday, which was one of my favorite parts of that entire thing, what are some of your thoughts just like coming out of that hearing overall? Because I think it was telling. You had a lot of text messages from the Trump family. You had stuff from Fox News hosts, and how we had even more context what we already knew. We already knew the kind of Fox News hosts in the back behind the scenes are like, hey, tapping the brakes. But it was going on prime time. It was having Republican legislators and people who are moderates, to say the least, kind of talk about these things, so that, you know, if there were any Republicans who decided to not get their daily dose of Fox News today, and they decided to go and watch something else, like anything else more substantive, then they would actually encounter, oh wow, there was this January 6th stuff that looks kind of bad. So I don't know. What were your thoughts? I still have my homeboy with the live view backpack. I remember having those things. That's a throwback. It's basically like having like 6 LTE SIM cards on your back at all times. I'm surprised his spine should be glowing right now.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure his back is steaming right now.
Yeah, it is absolutely mad. But like, I talked with Bam a lot about this. My overall thoughts haven't changed with the efficacy of these hearings or how I feel they will impact them, and I'll repeat my thoughts after that. But like, what did you think about this?
I think some of the main notes I can think of that. Well, first of all, in relation to previous hearings, this is kind of how it is, where, you know, they're usually about the standard time. There's some parts where it's a lot of like, I'd say like, kind of whining a little bit or this, but then they do be dropping some gems. Obviously with the Sean Hannity text messages crying, Don Jr. dropping the go to the mattresses, then having to clarify what the hell that means. Trump having difficulties with
and having to drop a mob reference, like, oh no, I am talking about the mob. Let me be clear, I am talking about the mob. What does that mean? You can't be honestly quoting The Godfather. Yes, I am. I don't know if you watch Succession, but Don Jr. is just like, Jeremy Strong just like said, no, I'm gonna do Don Jr. and I'm just gonna like take that to the most cartoonish way possible. Yes. To the point where you almost see Don Jr. being the Kendall Roy character, like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I fucking meant. Of course I'm talking about The Godfather, dude. Like what the fuck are you talking about? Of course, I mean, go to the fucking mattress. Like, you get this like bumbling guy who's like attempting to be threatening.
Yeah, he's just like what you don't get the reference? Like, he's one of them dudes that like swears up and down that everyone thinks he's cool, but no one thinks he's cool. Like, he swears up and down he's that guy, but everyone's like, no, he's really not. Like, you gotta stop.
he's the Kendall Roy. I mean, at least
he really is.
I mean, at least Eric Trump is, I don't know, in doing this, I guess maybe like the I can't tell if he's Roman or Connor. Because he has efforts of, and I'll take this out of Succession talk for, and I'm not going to do any spoilers for those who haven't seen it because it's a phenomenal show. And I'll take this out of Succession talk for those who haven't seen it, but I feel like that Eric Trump is both like more ambitious than Connor, but not as go get him going for it as Roman. Like, Roman has a lot of like unearned confidence. I don't think Eric Trump even projects that confidence as much. And then like Ivanka is like an obvious Siobhan. Because like even down to the whole like Jared Kushner playing up to daddy, like that's like all there to a T. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that like I think I would say the parts that made me most like, oh my God, was definitely the BTS coverage. They show on raw videos of him, like his demeanor, his behavior, and then you see his demeanor doing his like 30-second speech and then literally being like, yeah, we're all emotionally drained and we called it a day after that. And they're like, literally, while that was happening, cops are getting their ass beat. So you were drained? Like, and then they flip over to Mike Pence, who's like literally working his poor ass off to not only stay alive, but keep damn near democracy alive. Like,
I'm
Mike
fighting
Pence,
for my fucking life.
Hero, dude. Mike Pence, the hero.
I'm out here fighting for my fucking life.
Mike Pence saying, fight for my fucking life. Fight for my life. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, a consistent theme, I think even Ben would agree with this, is that like a poor Mike Pence is like all you think of. It's like, this man Trump almost had this dude hung on live TV, almost had him murked. Then after he's like threatening his life, he goes, "You disappointed me today." Like, come on, dude. Like, what do you want from this man? And Mike Pence is like, this guy's an idiot. I'm just gonna work my ass off to get this handled. But yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen now that they're gonna have like this break, I guess, until next stuff comes out. I don't really know what else they could really dig up. I feel like you're really getting a sense of all the implications, right? Like, everyone gets a general sense of what's going on. Trump is at fault for amassing a mob. And then after he amassed the mob, he not only did not claim responsibility, he claimed they're Antifa, and then he would go and make comments off air and be like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that the election is over. It's not over. We can say that Congress certified it. Like, it's just, he's a walking just hypocrite. Like,
he's doing live edits in real time, which is like what I appreciate.
Literally live editing. He's a walking illustrator.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't want to say that because it'll project a. You know when you have an actor who's doing a little bit too much directing, like more than they need to be. It's like how about no?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I am dying for this kind of stuff. But like all the stuff about poor Pence, it gets me to something I want to talk about in our original rundown, anyways, which was a little bit of a thing I'm following, because just before this was full of a lot of bombshells that I'm glad we were like live and just like on the top of just to cover just tonight. But there is this whole inside story with Pence, right? Where you almost got like two shadow presidencies happening. I mean, you had three. There's the Joe Biden presidency, which I guess we should have taken would be just as the Joe Biden presidency, and the Joe Biden president-elect doing nothing. Dick. I mean, like, you had some speeches and some ceremonies out there, but other than that, like, there wasn't anything really happening. Like, oh, what can the president-elect do since the president's going rogue? I mean, desperate time call for desperate measures. I don't know what the Constitution allows, but clearly, as the law is not being practiced, the Constitution allows anything. But you had that presidency, but you also had clearly the Donald Trump presidency. But Mike Pence was giving his own set of orders. Mike Pence had his own separate detail, and he was trying to be there because, you know, we really hate the guy. You absolutely, under no circumstances, have to give it to him. But Mike Pence seemed to be there, by all the accounts we've heard so far, with the goal of making sure the election got certified. And, you know, it seems like there are a lot of officials in Washington, D.C. who was like, damn, Trump, this you? Like, they were actually really concerned what was going on. But it's seeming like a lot of the Secret Service was in on the game with Trump. And we're hearing this with the Secret Service having text messages that were deleted right around January 5th and January 6th. So, you know, the official reasoning behind that is, oh, well, you know, we were transferring over systems over this time, and the system transfer was going to happen over on February regardless. And so we asked, this is the best thing, because whenever you do police investigations, this is almost always the answer they give you. But they said, we took it upon ourselves to ask agents to identify any important messages on their own that they might want to keep. Otherwise, everything else would be deleted. So we're asking for a little bit of self-policing here. Interesting. So there's this one little problem, is that the United States Secret Service isn't Syndicate 23. It's not like an incredibly small, like, mom and pop business, and even incredibly small mom and pop businesses and Syndicate 23, if you want to fuck around and find out. We keep records. you know that when you're in a situation, when you get a kind of letter that says, like, hey, you're about to be an illegal bugaboo, keep your records for this, because whatever way this goes, it's going to be important later. Mm-hmm. Any agency, any government agency knows how to deal with records requests. So even if you have some, like, big data overview happening in February, you get a note on January 15th, that, like the Secret Service did, that says, hey, this window of time is looking kind of sus. We're going to come back to this. Make sure there's something to come back to. And Secret Service goes, all right, bet, and then fades away into the bushes.
Yeah.
Literally, like, just like earlier today or yesterday, we had some, like, somebody from the Secret Service going, like, yeah, I got nothing for you. I know you want us to double check those text messages. We got nothing for you. So now the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees the Secret Service now, or has since the Bush administration, is like, okay, now we're stepping in, because this has a smell. This has a smell. But what I'm getting at is that, I mean, you can go ahead and get your thoughts on, then I'll set them.
No. I'm just agreeing with you. Like, it's very funny when, you know, a place with so much thoroughness and checks, just suddenly can't seem to recall, or there was some iOS update that magically got rid of some archive data. Like this, yeah, we're in the process of taking care of that, or I don't recall, or yeah, it screams sus. It definitely gives Among Us sussy vibes.
And so there's been some, I don't pay attention to a lot of cable news speculation, because even on the so-called left of center, I don't say left, I say left of center, because MSNBC is anything but left, but they sensationalize stories, they sensationalize topics. And so Chris Hayes, who I'd say is the closest thing to the left's ally on cable news that we have, he's primetime host of MSNBC, and he's been following this thread where it seems like Mike Pence knew how deep the game went. Like I'm talking like deep state deep. And these Secret Service text messages, some stuff Chris Hayes has talked about this week, plus this video that we're about to go through from late April, is apparently, like it's painting a thread here, which I think is the shocking thing, which I think is what Bam was warning about as well. And Bam, I'm glad you're still here. But let's watch this clip and then chime in with some of the Ari Melber stuff too, because again, I'm not watching all the stuff. I know something happened on Ari Melber's show, like he had someone on, but feel free to chime in and we'll have that on the video. But here is some stuff from the Chris Hayes program on Pence versus the Secret Service. I think that's interesting. Let's go.
Story about January 6th that's been. But first, there's a key story about January 6th that's been, to a certain degree, hiding in plain sight all this time. And we're learning more about it in ways that I think suggest something new, a newer dimension to what happened on that day. It's the story of how tensions rose between Donald Trump, the president, and his vice president, Mike Pence, as Trump attempted to get Pence to do his bidding and overturn the election for him, effectively, unilaterally, and lawlessly. Now, we know the basic facts about the moment when Pence's refusal to comply and subvert the will of the voters came to a head. But the significance of that scene has taken a much darker tone as we've learned more details about it. So on the morning of January 6th, right, Trump made one last appeal to Pence at the huge rally at the Ellipse, although it sounded, frankly, more like a threat.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
And so, given the context of how like Trump will like pause his recorded speeches to go, no, my fans will interpret it wrongly, and I want them to stay on message. He again, the thing that drove me the most mad about the Trump administration was that he just did it in public. Yeah. There was no hiding. Like, we're watching these clips in retrospect because we're piecing it together because it was happening so fast. I don't know if I'm like a genius seeing some shit or something, but I was like, it's all happening and you're streaming it. Like, the same networks that are like, oh, what's going on? I don't know. This seems crazy. I'm like, yo, I get my news from you, and I'm screaming at the TV going, duh! Yo, hire me. Throw me like $70K a year to do this journalism shit. Damn.
No, no. Give Dan a month, $70K a month, please.
That's just my start. That's how I wean them in with that. And then once we have the actual meeting with Phil Griffin or whoever's in charge of MSNBC, then we go in for the. Now I want the Maddo numbers.
You just destroyed me in the marketplace of ideas, and I appreciate that.
Owned. Okay, let's go in more, Chris.
We then watched as the mob, at Trump's urging, marched to the Capitol, where they broke in and ransacked the building, assaulting police officers, roaming the halls, chanting, "Hang Mike Pence! Hang Mike Pence!" Some of them even erected a gallows with a noose outside of the building. And as the danger became apparent, the Secret Service evacuated the vice president from the Senate chamber, where he was presiding over the election certification proceedings as stipulated in the Constitution and American
Pence
law.
being evacuated.
Now we know, thanks to reporting from Washington Post journalists Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker, that Pence first went to his ceremonial office at the Capitol, where he was protected by Secret Service agents, but vulnerable because the second floor office had windows, and those windows could be breached, and the intruding thugs had gained control of the building. Pence refused 2 requests from the agents in charge of his detail to evacuate the building, saying, quote, "I'm not leaving the Capitol." As Leonnig and Rucker write, the last thing the vice president wanted was the people attacking the Capitol to see his 20-car motorcade fleeing. That would only vindicate their insurrection.
That's an important part right there, because Mike Pence, I hope you do the right thing. Mike Pence, I hope you do the right thing. And Mike Pence doing the right thing could either be seen as Trump, who's going to take whatever reality is and bend it to what he wants to in the moment, will either be you, A, stand there and certify the election for Trump as the vice president who does that, even though everyone in Congress and the Senate is like gonna erupt and is gonna cause chaos because people want to be in on the big game, or you leave so that the certification can't happen, and then everything's up in the air, and then Trump can say, look, Pence is on my side. See, look, the game's still on. We can be president forever. Let's keep going. Now it's time for my people to march and attack. So this was a critical moment where Trump was looking at where the die from the dicer, so to speak, was gonna fall, and Pence was just like blowing it over to the edge of the table, like trying to make sure we like avert a disaster here, and even fighting against Secret Service. Which now that you see that Secret Service, you know, on the one hand they were saying, Mr. President, we can't go over there; it's not safe. On the other hand, you have a lot of Secret Service members who have been shown to be friendly and partial to the Trump administration and to be biased, so to speak, for Trump. So I think there's a lot interesting there, and the fact they're missing text messages make this more, interesting, so to speak, as well.
Absolutely.
The third time the Secret Service asked, it was more of an order than a request. And they moved Pence down a staircase to a secure subterranean area where his armored limousine awaited. ABC News reporter Jonathan Karl described the scene there in that subterranean chamber as he saw it in official White House photos that Pence has not allowed to be published.
He was in a loading dock in an underground parking garage beneath the Capitol complex. No place to sit, no desk, no chairs, nothing. He was in this concrete, parking garage.
I want to say those were the photos that we just saw, where, like, Pence is in a parking structure. There's, like, a government car right there, and he's, like, giving orders, so to speak. Basically from his thing.
Yeah. The pictures from the hearing. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right.
We have pictures from the hearing that were like never before seen, where you have Pence meeting with some generals, and they're all like, "Bro, what?"
Yeah, they're like, "This is getting kind of buck wild."
Yeah,
and with his family, and this is the Vice President of the United States, and he's like holed up in a basement. One of them is his Chief of Staff, Mark Short, showing him his phone, and it's the tweet of Trump saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage. This is the guy who fled the rioters.
That tweet
and
is
Trump is
so insane, dude. Oh my God, that tweet was so buck wild. When I saw that, I was like, dude, here, you might get someone killed today, man. Like, do you know what you're doing? Like, if they kill this man, your tweet is out there, you bumbling fool. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember watching that day. It was pretty rough.
It was insane. It's so much pressure was put on Pence to save America for Trump, and certified election, and literally it flipped so fast into oh, he didn't do what we wanted. Now let me turn all my minions on him. All my people attack and get him now. Oof. I wonder what his reaction was when he saw that tweet too. Go ahead.
And the courage.
I wish there was a photo of that.
He's grimacing, but you can never really tell.
Okay.
We kind of heard it there. Yes.
This is the guy who fled the rioters, and Trump is saying it, and the courage, and you can see it kind of looks like Pence is grimacing, but you can never really tell.
Okay, now listen to Jamie Raskin, member of the January 6th committee, who's been investigating this for 9 months, describe what happened next.
Yeah. So, just in chat, Bam. He said even if the Secret Service people were partial to Trump, they could never take him to the Capitol because the mob was armed. They didn't know who was really in there. That's definitely true, right? So that's a good point. Even if the Secret Service was with him, they can still be like, listen, for your protection, for your safety, we're gonna make sure that's okay. All right, going in.
So when his Secret Service agents, including one of them who was carrying the nuclear football with him, were chased out by these neo-fascists, and they ran down to some still undisclosed mysterious place
I think that's
in the Capitol. He uttered what I think are the 6 most chilling words of this entire thing I've seen so far. He said, "I'm not getting in that car."
That's the moment it all came down to, after all the pressure from Trump and his allies to get Mike Pence to do their bidding and keep Donald Trump in office. The insurrectionist mob had breached the building. The Secret Service hustles Pence down into the underground parking garage, and they want to take him away from the Capitol, but he refuses to go. Why does he refuse going? Well, Pence's own Chief of Staff, Mark Short, says the vice president did not want his evacuation to be the indelible image sent around the world.
He said, "I'm not leaving." And the reason he said he's not leaving is because he said he did not want our adversaries across the globe to see a 15-car motorcade flee in the Capitol. I think he exerted enormous leadership under enormous pressure, And I think he, again, despite efforts to have him evacuate, he's like, I don't want that visual for the world to see. I'm going to stay here.
Okay, so that's what Mark Short says, right? This is an image he doesn't want to project to the world, and so I'm going to stay here for symbolic purposes, essentially. But, you know, Pence was not the only one who did not want to leave the Capitol complex that day, despite the terror unfolding. For example, Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego of Arizona described another immediate tactical reason for staying put.
I saw a bunch of buses pull up, and they were buses to evacuate us. And let me tell you, in coups, when you leave the Capitol, you've lost. And so I started texting every member I could in all of our text chains. I'm like, do not leave. Like, if they tell you to leave, like, do not leave. Like, you're safe for staying here. Like, we get on those buses. There's no guarantee we're ever coming back.
I've been thinking about that since for a long time. We get on those buses, there's no guarantee we're coming back. So that's Ruben Gallego's thought, right? A coup's happening. If the legislators leave, all bets are off. So occupying the physical space of the building, in Gallego's estimation, was actually key to repelling the coup. That's very different than the PR ramifications or the symbolic image of the motorcade. That's the darker interpretation of what was going on when Mike Pence refused to leave, right? That he wasn't just concerned about how the image of the vice president fleeing would look to the world. No, he was actually also concerned about maintaining control of the government, about the American constitutional order, that his role on January 6th was to preside over the peaceful transfer of power. And if the riotous mob, propelled by Donald Trump, succeeded in driving him physically away from the Capitol where he had that duty, he may not have been able to return to finish the job of overseeing the peaceful transfer of power. That would have allowed the coup to actually take place. And that interpretation, the far darker one, the more dangerous one, the wow, we came close one, that interpretation looks more and more likely as new facts come to light, particularly about the Secret Service's role on January 6th. So on Friday, new testimony released by the committee revealed that a senior Secret Service official warned Mark Meadows
this clip's from late
of
April,
potential
by the way.
violence ahead of January 6th. And Hugo Lowell of The Guardian is reporting that the committee appears to have been examining that official named Anthony Ornato. A source tells Lowell that Trump gave Ornato a big White House job, Deputy White House Chief of Staff for Operations, in part because of his loyalty.
So that's where a lot of this comes together, is that a former Secret Service agent, a former lead Secret Service agent on Trump's detail, was given a Deputy White House Chief of Staff position during the most chaotic part of his presidency. Because this is the part of the presidency where, like, remember how Trump had all these different officials in his cabinet and then he would kick them out and fire them saying, oh, they were disloyal to me, or, oh, I wish them the best, or, oh, they didn't do what I wanted them to, so I'm going to get someone better. There are all these other different figures and stuff. So you had a point where, like, the goons were gone. The goons waiting in line for the goons were gone. So all you had were the people who were the most loyal to Donald Trump. Because remember, with Trump, I need loyalty. I expect loyalty. And he rewards loyalty. He doesn't reward merit or how smart you are. He rewards loyalty. And so by having this guy who knows the ins and outs of the Secret Service here, and given that the Secret Service is generally so, even more so than other more militarized police-like departments in the federal government, it's more so close to the president. People, and Chris Hayes' more recent thing that I wasn't able to get the clip of, he talks about how Secret Service agents sometimes build bonds with the presidents that they're serving. Sometimes they despise the presidents that they're serving. So like they build strong opinions about this. It's hard not to be like, not political, but like, to that be unopinionated about this from a Secret Service agent's perspective.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to have the lead Secret Service agent on Trump's detail going, hey, you know what? I like the way you protect me, and I like the way how you are literally my bodyguards who have authority to act on my behalf with guns and weapons. I'm going to have you be my deputy chief of staff when I'm already not like feeling my actual chief of staff. So I'm going to have you work with me. I'm going to give you some orders here based on your, loyalty and your experience with the Secret Service here. I'm going to put this in our pocket for January 6th.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember, like, didn't Obama have that one Secret Service agent that, like, worked for him for 12 years, but then like flipped and ran for presidency himself. And he was like, I was in there with him and I heard everything and he's full of it. And he ended up flipping. It was like Dan Bongino or something like that. I remember that he like was like a Secret Service agent that decided to run for Congress as a Republican. So you're right. Like some of them are like almost as tight as family. And then other ones hate them, you know?
You just gave me an educational moment because I'm familiar with Dan Bongino now as a political commentator, so to speak. But I'm like, where'd this guy even come from? But yeah,
he was a Secret Service agent that was literally under Obama for 12 years.
Yeah,
and then he flipped on him. Was like, nah, Obama sucks. I was in the room. He's garbage. And I'm running for Congress as Republican. I mean, he didn't do nothing because but yeah, like now he's a host. But I remember that. Like I remember him flipping. So it's definitely like. It's either way. It can definitely be either way. But obviously, they put their duty, quote unquote, first.
Yeah. Sure. Former agents at the time were talking about the Bongino campaign, and now he's like, and guess what? It's so typical. Now he's a Fox News pundit. Now he's got his show. He's got his commentary. He's got his Twitter page. Like, come on, dude. But
this man literally was protecting Obama for 12 years and said.
No, he wasn't protected because like Obama wasn't in office for 12 years. So like he was on the Secret Service for 12 years, but was part of Obama's detail for part of that. Yeah. And he says the fog of scandals in the Obama administration. I'm like, bro, really? You mean tan suit and gray poupon? That was too much for you, guy?
My man, you're an NYPD cop. Let's talk about your scandals, big homie. Let's talk about your scandals.
Yeah, his agents that worked with him said that he's trying to draw attention to himself and he's hijacking the Secret Service brand. That's all he's got going for him. But that is to say that the Secret Service is, like all cops, and you know what we say about all cops on the left here. So let's continue.
Now, Ornato previously helped coordinate Trump's infamous march through Lafayette Square for a photo op with the Bible.
Hits! So that photo where like protesters are like arrested and like immediately tear gassed so that Trump could stand in front of a church and hold the Bible up in a way that no person holds a book that they've ever read.
But like one of the most strangest scenes of all time, like the biggest fake Christian of all time, Big Trump. Like such a weird moment.
I want to say that was so surreal it became a Power Report cover. Like it was just so weird.
It was just like, what are you doing right now? Like this isn't your scene, big dog. What are you doing?
Yeah. The more surreal a moment is, the more likely I'll make it a Power Report cover. That's for sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, let's wrap this clip up. We got like 2 more minutes of it.
And assisted in planning of many Trump campaign rallies. On January 6th, he was overseeing Secret Service movements. Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker report that while Pence was in that secure underground area of the Capitol, Ornato, told Pence's national security advisor, Keith Kellogg, that the vice president's security detail was planning to move him to Joint Base Andrews. And Kellogg replied, again, this is a reporting of Leonnig and Rucker, "You can't do that, Tony. Leave him where he's at. He's got a job to do. I know you guys too well. You'll fly him to Alaska if you have a chance. Don't do it." Well, I don't know. That sure sounds like it was a Trump loyalist in charge of Pence's security movements attempting to help Donald Trump effectuate his coup by removing the vice president from the building where he was to oversee the peaceful transfer of power. Congressman Jamie Raskin lays it out clearly.
The Secret Service agents, who presumably are reporting to Trump's Secret Service agents, were trying to spirit him off of the campus. And he said, "I'm not getting in that car until we count the Electoral College votes." He knew exactly what this inside coup they had planned for was going to do. This was not a coup directed at the president. It was a coup directed by the president against the vice president and against the Congress.
And so that's why Pence's 6 words in that moment, "I'm not getting in that car," were about so much more than just the image it would send to the world. It appears they were about the fundamental desire from the ex-president and his loyalists to, again, essentially in that moment, rupture the entire constitutional order in order to install Donald Trump by force against the will of the people.
So that's like the MSNBC clip from there. But that is There was another clip from a recent like Chris Hayes thing that I couldn't find from this week that was tying the fact that, okay, you have these little strings here of, you know, Trump using the Secret Service here to prepare for the January 6th coup. But now you have that and the missing text messages. It's like, wait. Hold up. And again, my favorite part of the story still remains that, oh no, you see what it's a Secret Service's story of what had happened was we had long planned to do a data migration, to do our, you know, like big Windows 11 update, right? Even though we got a note saying to keep documents, an arm of the federal government, were unable to keep documents, especially those pertaining to January 5th and 6th, the days that were in question. It sucks, they're all deleted forever, but in our defense, we asked our agents on their own accord to please remember anything that you... to please keep anything that might be important.
They were emotionally tired that day, unfortunately.
And not just them, but even Donald Trump and the Secret Service agents together, they were doing a lot of colluding and a lot of plotting. They all needed mental health days. They all needed a break. They just need to unwind with a little bit of Fox News, McDonald's Freedom Fries, and Apple Jacks, and all served together, dipping the fries into the sort of like candied milk mixture. Like it's
hey, man, does he do that? I take back my support for Trump.
I don't know if he does that for sure, but
that's all it took for me. It wasn't all the insurrection. It wasn't the possible coup. It was the dip in the fries inside the McFlurry.
It's French. It's Frosties or nothing for me.
It's a certified violation for me. No, I think it's like, let's see. We have literally the damn president was attempting to finesse his way into becoming the president of the United States with not only losing an electoral vote, but massively losing in the populist vote. And you're not going to think for 1 second that maybe something sussy was going on with the Secret Service agents that he was personally handpicking because of their loyalty? Okay. And then all of a sudden, they forgot to press iCloud on the messages. iCloud was full. iCloud storage was full magically that day.
Yeah, susserini to like the highest degree.
Yes.
What are you feeling right now? There's a lot of stuff we want to do. Clearly, we're not gonna do everything on my notes list anymore. Nah,
that is a live show in essence.
See, so I'm about to hold you hostage till 1 a.m. while I get through my rundown here. Okay.
Oh, it's only Thursday.
The new Syndicate 23. I just run everybody out.
Power Report 24-hour stream.
Oh, dude. I have stories of Cenk Uygur and his streamathons at TYT. I wasn't there for his like 99-hour Medicare for All streamathon, but I'm told that was just like a gauntlet. And at the end of the every single day, everyone will just look at Cenk and they're like, "How the fuck are you still going?"
Raw Turkish power, no, that's raw Turkish power right there.
I experienced it myself during the 2020 elections at TYT that I was producing, and I literally just looked at him and I was like, "You do it for the love of the game." That's just like
that's the only thing powering this man, because it's just like, dude, the amount of the deliriousness just can only go so far.
It's not delirium because he's as excited and clear as ever.
Oh yeah,
it's
15 hour. What's the big difference between Cenk 15 hours and 2 hours? Nothing. This man is still turned up.
It's not like he gets some like dopamine hit from the attention because he opens Twitter and everyone wants to kill him.
Yeah, every time he even thinks about resting, someone's out there trying to kill him. So he's like, "No, I gotta stay up, homie. I'm always ready."
He really just does
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's Cenk right there.
He just does it for the love of the game, and I have not found that in me yet. But
same here. I'm Brazilian. No way.
So I don't know what that means. I hear Brazilians are warriors who can go all night.
Yeah, when it comes to doing things outside of academics, absolutely are important. Yeah, music. Hey, now we're talking. So you're saying tonight? What do you want to do?
I know.
What are some of our options?
So I would love to get some of your thoughts on Joe Rogan. And that whole his whole rightward bent, mostly because it's an opportunity while I am recording and doing things, just dunk on the fact that Kyle Kulinski, his own fans are shitting on him now, which I just love and it's funny. And I told him I was never going to stop on this. So that could be a fun 10, 15 minutes or so. There's me trying to get Valorant to work on OBS, which I'm a little afraid of, but I think it might be worth it because I've been promising you Valorant for half a year, and my computer's only been started working. And there's the Drake debate. Maybe we could combine 2 or 3 of those, or duo 2 of them. I don't know.
Maybe let's do the Trump. Let's do the Joe Rogan, Joe Sausage Nipples, one. And then we can do the Drake thing while we're playing a little bit of Valorant, and we'll call it.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do those.
That seems that we could easily debate and stuff while we're playing Valorant.
For sure. Do a couple rounds, and
yeah.
Dan learns how to stream, and Reap learns how to play Valorant in real time. That'll be great.
Dan's computer is pushing it to the limit. We love that.
Listen, my computer and Gunna's lawyers are always pushing P. Okay.
Yeah, like Kim Kardashian said, free Gunna.
Dude, can you say that you want to Roblox yourself on Twitch?
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. You can definitely say that. That's okay. You want to Roblox yourself? Yes, you can. Say
but
that
but
the actual way?
Yeah.
No.
You can't.
You can say Roblox. You can say that.
But I can't say the actual way.
What is the YouTube one? It's unalive, right? YouTube people say unalive, right? Yeah.
That's TikTok or
Oh yeah, TikTok. Yeah.
Self delete's also a popular one. But no. I'm gonna put Bam, are you really talking about buying a watermelon?
Oh yeah, Bam walks to the store down the street and picks up that watermelon right quick.
Good for you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next up on the rundownski, we're gonna go into Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan has gotten himself into a little bit of a trouble moment for a joke he supposedly made about homeless people.
This clip. Oh
yeah.
My God.
I need to actually get the clip up in real time. I wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah. No, but, you're good. And also he's been I'll give a little synopsis about his Joe Rogan lately. He's Joe Rogan's kind of going to start losing a little bit of his righty team because he's been making some comments. The 2 things you don't do when you're on the right side is the number 1 thing you don't diss Trump. And he started dissing a little bit of Trump, calling him big baby and stuff too. I was like, oh my God, dude. He's so corny. Ugh. Literally, what is he gonna start pretending to be a Bernie supporter? Is that what's going on now? What's going on? What's gonna happen next?
He's gone from Bernie supporter.
How someone does this, by the way, insane to me. That's insane. That just tells me he was just doing things without even reading, or he's just literally dumb as he says he is. To go from Bernie to Trump is buck wild.
Jamie can literally only Google so much, okay? But
Jamie, pull it up.
Okay, here's the actual video here, and then we'll go in and analyze it.
Okay.
And then we're on the underpass, and there's porta potties. Not one either, 4, a deck of porta potties. And then someone has a car parked there on the sidewalk, partly on the sidewalk. So they're half blocking a lane. And then they have a canopy draped over their car, and they have just stacks of shit. And then next to it was a dresser. They had a dresser.
Jesus.
So they had their shit.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Joe Rogan could never be. So such
Joe
a person.
Rogan's first day in downtown LA ever. This man has never been to Los Angeles in his life, clearly.
Joe Rogan finds it, you know, the king steps down from the throne every once in a while. He's come out from the hills hunting elk, going, oh,
These poor peasants are still here? What?
Dressers, have they no walk-in closets on Skid Row? How dare they?
A cabinet on the street? Oh no!
Are they? How dare they block the carriageway and use a canopy over to?
Where am I gonna park my Porsche 911 Boxster TT Turbo GTR S3 with the stupid tent in the way and the stinky man? Impossible. Oh god, I hate
shoes and a shoe rack. There was a shoe rack. Like, this is where they live.
My man is really upset about a shoe rack right now. A shoe rack?
Like a shoe rack? Like, no, this is him working out material. He's gonna be walking around like, anyone in the audience have a shoe rack? And people are like, yeah. Oh, you have a shoe rack? Fucking pores. Pores.
Just like the homeless guy, you're a bum. Like, what?
you have a microwave, can't even afford a walk-in closet. How priorities? Get your priorities right.
You know what? He was like, man, this guy ain't homeless. This guy's a shoe rack. That's crazy. No way.
Okay.
That's really wild. I didn't know also that. You know, when you see stuff like that on the streets, at least in Los Angeles or maybe in California, that's protected property, like by law.
Good.
You know that?
That's a good
like
thing.
If you were
So
to
you're
go,
not supposed to do that.
But that's that
dummy.
person's property by law. If you
Oh,
were to
the
go,
homeless person's property is
Yes.
protected?
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
If you were to go and try to move that or take that,
You'd get arrested.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't arrest you if you.
Yeah. So first of all, this is this is false because the police very, very rarely are protecting the lives of unhoused people. Unhoused people, especially in Los Angeles, are subject to sweeps at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, where they're told with very little notice to get up and move all their things. Oftentimes their property is taken away from them and they're told to collect it on the other side of town. And when you stole their property, you stole their money. They're unhoused, have very little money, so have to figure out how to get to the other side of town to get their belongings. Sometimes their belongings are lost. And so when you have people who never mind people who try to mess around and harass homeless people, because very rarely do the police get involved in that, because most often the police are doing the harassing. When you have people who try to help unhoused people, try to give them services, try to give them water in Los Angeles when it's hot as hell outside and people are burning, those people get arrested. Those people get harassed by cops. So I'll save some of my gas for Joe Rogan and Tom Segura here, because it's only going to get worse. But like, they know nothing about what they're talking about, and keep in mind they know nothing about what they're talking about when we hit on Kyle Kulinski a little bit later.
It's always so cool to hear comedians talk about a bunch of shit they have no idea what the hell they're blabbing on about.
But you know, they're the oppressed group. No one gets to hear what they think. No one get more free speech for comedians.
Poor damn billionaire. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, he's just so oppressed. It sucks that people SoundCloud artists are jumping on stage and trying to beat the hell out of Dave Chappelle. They're just really suffering, dude. Oh man,
hopping straight into the bow.
Shot somebody. Maybe you should just go and shoot the homeless people.
I like your ideas.
Yeah. And then nobody claims it. I mean, nobody does anything about violent crime in LA anymore. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
They're just letting people out.
What?
Woo! Let's just play that last part again real quick, just because it's like a little mask off. Like, you know, Joe's saying it with that kind of like smile, like, well, what if we kill him? But let's do this again.
By law, if you were to
the
go,
homeless person's property is protected?
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
If you were to go and try to move that or take that,
you'd get arrested.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't arrest you if you shot somebody. Maybe you should just go and shoot the homeless people.
I like your ideas.
Yeah. And if nobody claims it, I mean, nobody does anything about violent crime in LA anymore.
So let's draw out the scenario again. If Joe Rogan is saying that, oh wow, so people in America have property rights? In this country, property has more rights than people. Like, yeah, very true. And so if you mess with someone's property, you could be like legally responsible for that. Well, why can't I just shoot people? It's like they don't solve crime anymore. It's like, is Joe Rogan advocating doing this to people with houses? saying like, hey, it's just property, it's just land there. Why not? Why can't I just go in there and steal my neighbor's TV? Especially if he doesn't have a gun. Let me just do it and shoot him. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna. They don't solve crimes anymore.
No, and don't worry, Joe Rogan. Not to fear. Lucky for you, people are killing homeless people right now. The killing of homeless people is on the rise. Last year, 85 unhomed people were murdered in Los Angeles alone. It's on the rise since 2010 and massively. So don't worry, buddy. They're already your cool idea that you think is funny and hip and someone should go shoot them. Oh, trust me, they've been doing that to the people. Also, it's insane. This is a man who loves to talk about mental health sometimes and people's mental health. Literally, the disdain, the amount of money this man has that he sees homeless people as literally just like scum and trash on the road. Dan is right. Of course, a homeless person is not going to be able to win some kind of like court case or actually get law enforcement protection for their property. But they even put those laws in there just hoping that people don't just go up and just ransack some homeless dude and run up on him and destroy whatever he's. That's why the people usually just walk around, or they just like avoid it, or they call the city, or they call like police to move them, because I just can't get in my car with you right now and go and just start taking homeless people's stuff and put it in the car. That's illegal. So now, do they get protection? No, but like that's illegal for us to do. So it's like, don't worry, Joe Rogan. Your sick mind is something that's already happening. Like that's already unfortunately happening, and it needs to stop. So don't worry. And already this year, we're halfway through the year, and we're almost halfway towards 85 murders from last year as well. So yeah, not to worry, buddy. It's going on.
Really fast before I get into the Kyle Kulinski angle, because Kyle hasn't talked about this to my knowledge. I'll do like a quick search and see if he's like talked about on his Twitter about this particular thing. But usually, you know, like 5-6 days later after Joe Rogan or Kyle Kulinski, after Joe Rogan twins for something, Kyle Kulinski will then make a video on YouTube about saying how, no, listen, guys, Joe Rogan's not so much of a bad guy. Listen, you don't understand. I went on the show one time. I was texting him one time. He's actually super reasonable. I don't get it. He's a huge lefty. I don't know what's going on. But, and he did this really recently, but he is such a pushover for the worst people. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's done it again already, but there are people already who have been like tweeting him saying, let me put this up here, like, hey, your hero Joe Rogan wants to shoot homeless people. Just people tweeting at him, kind of really giving it to him. But I wanted
such disgusting. It was so disgusting. That audio is so disgusting to hear.
I want to shout out to my friend Abelina Sabrina, who did like a funny video making fun of the whole like Joe Rogan thing. Oh yeah, no, it's a 6-minute one. I thought it was a little bit short. I thought it was like a thing, but like she went into like a longer thing about how like it can't be a joke, right? Like you can't like sort of like joke about being unhoused in the situation, the stance that Joe Rogan is, when he's just spent like he spent all his money making a big deal and going, I'm moving out of Los Angeles. I'm moving out of these liberal places because they don't know how to handle their cities. They're people who are unhoused. These are like subhuman citizens. Is like not exactly what he's saying, but he's basically implying it. Like, oh, how dare they want wardrobes and places to put their clothing and shoes and all that different stuff. By
in a city with the medium yearly salary, not even coming close to getting half of what it costs for rent in the city, what do you think is going to happen? It's just absolutely insane. Like Bam said, he should help if he thinks he's so cool, he should go do something about it. And my last point on that before you show this video is, it's really annoying when comedians start playing this game of, I can be a political commentator and I can start talking about real life stuff, and I can do it because I'm a comedian and I have like this protection. Because the protection I have as a comedian is that like, oh, I was just joking. Obviously you don't get the joke. Like, no, you're not joking and your jokes are ass anyways. So that's the two things. You're not joking, your jokes are ass. So don't try to fall back on that. And you're not even funny enough to fall back on it. So just get out of here with that.
Yeah, you're a multimillionaire who makes a living just talking. All right, which is what a bunch of unhoused people shoot the shit all the time, and they are funny as fuck, and they are way more insightful than Joe Rogan is. That totally deserves to make millions of dollars. But no, Joe Rogan's privileged, and he gets to make millions of dollars. He gets to talk about killing people who are at the lowest rung of their lives, struggling to eat, survive, truly eat and survive, and saying, yeah, what if we kill them? Because they're an inconvenience, not even an inconvenience to me, but, you know, they're a blight on my vision. I don't like to watch this. I don't like to give this, like, my time of day. It's disgusting to me. So what I do want to hear is kind of like, go into Kyle Kulinski simping again for Joe Rogan. This on, oh, I can't say that on Twitch, right? Oh, well. We out here still. We out here.
Oh, we're good, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Take down the VOD after. Take down the VOD.
Yeah. But, like, this continued stuff from Kyle Kulinski is ridiculous. This has to do with the whole thing where he endorsed Ron DeSantis.
Psycho? Oh my god.
This is when he endorsed Ron DeSantis for president, and
this is the girl that got dropped from Star Wars and then signed a deal with Daily Mail to make videos.
Daily Wire.
Daily Wire, yeah, Daily Wire to do those conservative videos and movies, and they're awful.
we should maybe hate watch one of the
we gotta
Daily
do
Wire
a movie
movies.
Review. Yes,
I can't do that Matt Walsh What Is a Woman shit because he's too much of an obvious troll. It pisses me off.
I'm
but like
no, she makes like legit. She's making a movie. That would be fun. Let's do that.
And they got some dramas going on. Like I've got some stuff's coming on for the fall for Thanksgiving.
Did like
that's
a
gonna be
ghetto
great.
Hateful Eight, and I'm down for that.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so here's the Kyle Kulinski Rogaine video. Oh wait, hold on. I have the site muted. That's right. I'm going to have this sped up a little bit because it's kind of slow.
All right, y'all. So Joe Rogan is in the news again, and this time, in my opinion, it is legitimate for him to be in the news. He just endorsed Ron DeSantis for 2024. So let's see exactly what he said, and then I'm going to explain to you, using DeSantis's record and his policy positions, why that's a terrible idea, and he would not make a good president.
Yeah, so all this stuff is happening while we have a dead man as president.
Yeah.
That part is true. Biden is dead.
You know, it's just
Are
it's
you throwing
not,
out any
it's not fun.
any support towards anyone, or are you going to hold off and? Because I know, didn't Elon Musk come out recently for DeSantis?
Yeah, I think Ron DeSantis would work as a good president. I mean, what he's done for Florida has been admirable.
Look, I feel like I'm doing breaking news right now.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on purpose.
I feel like what he did for Florida, a lot of people gave him a lot of grief, but ultimately he was correct. He was correct when it comes to like deaths. He was correct when it comes to protecting our vulnerable populations. He was correct in terms of distribution of monoclonal antibodies, and he was furious when the government tried to pull those. They were trying to pull very effective treatments. You know, he's
going into all this COVID shit, but DeSantis is a homophobe. He's going after critical race theory. He wants it to make it illegal for white kids to feel uncomfortable in schools. He's a psychopath.
When DeSantis was a governor and he had the state open, Florida was like leading the nation like COVID related deaths and positive cases. So.
Joe Rogan, ask DeSantis about decriminalizing drugs or cannabis. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask DeSantis if he's down to do some
DMT, psychedelics.
Yeah. Ask him if he wants to do some mushrooms with you. See if he's super down for that, dude. That'd be sick.
Yeah,
Why
Joe.
don't you move your podcast to Florida? Come on.
Yeah, Joe. Come to my state. Come to my state. Directly to jail. Do not pass go.
Literally, you do your show in Austin. Oh, you're so hardcore, brother. You're in Austin, Texas, which is literally mini Portland. But okay, big tough guy. Go put your show in Jacksonville. Go have fun in Jacksonville. Let's see Joe Rogan Experience live from Jacksonville, Florida. I want to see that.
When I was in Austin, Texas, I was able to buy kombucha from a gas station. So don't tell me, Joe Rogan.
That's great, because while you were doing that in Austin, Texas, I bought kombucha from a gas station, and then I took a paddle board and I laid out on a river all day. Yeah, man, real hardcore vibes out there, dude. Super. And then I went to Urban Outfitters after and bought a pearl necklace. So yeah, dude, tough life.
Is not perfect. He's a human being, but what he's done is stand up for freedoms. And people think that so this was some weird gaslighting shit that went on where people equated freedom and saying the word freedom to like right-wing bigotry and hate is so strange.
Now, one of the things Joe clearly cares a lot about is he was anti-mandate and he was anti-lockdown. And he uses that word
No. Okay, I'll let Kyle finish this point.
freedom a lot in this clip. Here's the problem with Ron DeSantis. Even though you can say, hey, the fact that he was anti-lockdown is something I consider pro-freedom, can't say that about this. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says marijuana should remain criminalized because of its, quote, putrid odor. Now, this is an issue that Joe Rogan cares a lot about, if not more than the lockdown stuff. And of course, he's cared about it for a much longer time because it's been an issue for a longer amount of time. So, but even to the claim of like, hey, he's anti-lockdown, and it kind of worked out in Florida. Well, on paper, it is true that the number of COVID deaths or the rate of COVID deaths in Florida compared to other states like New York, for example, it's almost identical. So without the stringent lockdown, you still had about the same number of deaths in Florida as you did in New York, as you did in even like the strictest lockdown states. I think Michigan was one of them, and Michigan even has slightly higher COVID death rate. But having said that, it might be a little bit misleading because Miami Herald reports Florida undercounted COVID cases and deaths. Failed to get test results, state audit says. But now also New York did too. New York undercounted those deaths as well. So I understand Joe's position of like, look, I have a principled stance against lockdowns.
My God, Kyle.
Fair enough.
Hop off.
But how do you account for this? This is an issue that Joe has cared about for the longest time. You can't overlook the fact that
it's almost as if Joe Rogan isn't looking into his politics that carefully. It's almost as if Joe Rogan, can say he identifies as one thing, but it honestly doesn't matter. Huh. Weird.
that this guy is deeply anti-freedom when it comes to marijuana and when it comes to substances. That's a huge problem. And I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if Joe knows that this guy is deeply against marijuana. So I really hope Joe watches this segment, because I'm going to walk through the rest of Ron DeSantis' record. Now, understand, one of the issues I care deeply about, and I know Joe cares deeply about, is free speech.
Bam has a good point in the chat saying they arrested some woman who was trying to release the COVID death numbers in Florida. Her house, they raided her house and everything. It was a sign, like, this was happening. I very much remember this story. I'll see if I can pull it up. Well, I'm controlling the screen. Looks like I can. Hey, look at that.
Would you look at this?
Police raid home of Florida COVID-19 tracker creator. Now remember, Ms. Jones has accused the U.S. Department of Health of manipulating virus data in order to relax pandemic restrictions. She posted on Twitter, and it was literally like one of those FBI memes where it was like, I saw someone with one of those new MacBook Pros, and they were able to plug one port into the other port, and they were able to charge the MacBook Pro for like unlimited charging. And people were joking, saying like, "Bro, take this down. The FBI is gonna come find you." No, literally, she posted this on Twitter, and the feds were like, "No, we're gonna come find you." And yes, of course, Kyle Kulinski forgot that, because I watched this clip already. But like, yeah, let's go back to this.
Oh, Kyle.
Speech. Well, let's look at DeSantis' record on that front. DeSantis signs bill banning protests outside any residence. Just so everybody understands, this is unconstitutional. This is against the First Amendment. And the Supreme Court has decided this. There was a case from the 1990s where anti-abortion protesters protested outside of an abortion clinic. Now, there are rules like, you can't harass the people walking in or touch the people walking in. You need to keep a little bit of distance between you and the abortion clinic. But they said, look, it's unconstitutional to tell them they can't protest there. Now, by the same token, in that same case, the anti-abortion protesters actually went to the residences of people who worked at the abortion clinic, and they protested there. Now, again, as long as you keep a certain amount of distance, it is your constitutional right to protest outside of their residence. That's what they decided. So DeSantis doing this is flat out unconstitutional and against free speech and against free protest. And
Bro, I mean, like, to be fair, this video was from 3 weeks ago, from the time of recording this video. But Joe Rogan was just like really chill with joking about like shooting homeless people. So no, I don't think he actually cares like about, people should have the right to protest banning outside people's residences. I don't think he actually cares about that unless he has someone on his podcast who is talking about that in the moment. But I think because like Joe Rogan repeats whatever he's talking to on the podcast, he just repeats what they're saying in the moment and largely agrees with them. That's a large criticism. He does it on the right. He does it with people he invites on the show who are on the left. He does it with people he invites on the show who are on the right. But he invites a lot more people on the right than on the left. He does it with people who have good information. He does it a lot with people who have bad information. But most of the people he has in his show have on bad information. So that's going to make up the bulk of what Joe Rogan believes. Kyle Kulinski is again, exhibiting something that I mentioned for folks who've been watching this Power Report live stream that we're doing here at twitch.tv/Dan from the web. What I've been saying is that there's certain people, a certain class of people in America, some of the saltines, if you will, that believe that the male saltines, if you will, believe that, oh no, this person can't possibly be lying. What people have been telling me about, what people of color, what minorities, what queer people, what adorable kittens like Skumies over there have been saying all along, the different marginalized groups in society have been saying all along. It turns out, hey, look at that marginalized kitten. But like what all the different marginalized groups in society have been saying all along, oh no, that can't possibly be true. Oh, it's happening to me? I wouldn't want that to be true now. Now, we all know that's not true. I'm just looking for you, perpetrator, potential liar, potential person who is not truly who they say they are, to prove to me that I'm not gullible. Just prove to me, please, that I'm not gullible. Tell me I'm not gullible, right? It's so pathetic.
Yeah, and it sucks because, like you said, he's such like a little hood hopper, depending on who's there. And Joe Rogan only likes to really have like a combative stance on something if it's somebody that he actually believes is dumber than him. If someone shows any semblance of like intelligence that's equal or more to him, or like snaz, or like just anything that he doesn't feel like he could push back on, he just kind of like agrees with them passive aggressively, plays like a game, tells Jamie to look it up, and then pretends it doesn't exist. Because, Joe Rogan, true beta.
Yeah, this is just a routine for him at this it's just a routine for him at this point. Like, he's not the show was never about any kind of intellectual curiosity or intellectual journey. It was just Joe Rogan riffing with his friends. It's all he wanted to be. It grew out of his control. He saw the political stuff did numbers for him, so he leaned more into it. But like others have observed, like Sam Cedars mentioned this a lot, but I've also mentioned this as well privately and maybe in some recordings publicly. It'd be loved if I could find that one day. But like, Joe Rogan's in over his head. He walked into being a political pundit, has no ability to be a political pundit, doesn't want to publicly acknowledge the responsibilities of being a political pundit, although he kind of did at one point. When he said, oh, I don't want to have Trump on my show because I don't want to help him, he's acknowledging that having people on his show helps people in the public image or public light, but at the same time says, no, just because I have a bunch of right-wingers on doesn't mean I'm influencing people to be like right-leaning, or, I'm a leftist, but I have a bunch of right-leaning. He can't have his cake and eat it too.
No,
he can't have his HGH and eat it too.
Yeah. He can't have his the same steroids that Barry Bonds lotion and eat it too. What I think like those moments are like 2% of like the guy he used to be, like the 2010s Joe Rogan show experience, where it was like a different kind of mindset he had. And then like now he's so brain rot and he has no accountability. He's so like rich and brain dead and dumb and HGH influenced has rotted his brain that like now it's to the point where he just kind of like just does whatever he wants on the show when he says horrific things like the homeless thing. And in previous stances he took that were like dumb. So I've given up on that show a long time. Gone is the days of him dismantling Candace Owens and bringing Milo weirdo ass on. Like those days are over. Now it's like, now it's like I'm gonna bring comedians and weirdo election result people and like vaccine deniers and stuff. I'm gonna focus on that right now. But also like Trump, that's too much. Like, dude, just sold out.
But Trump adjacent Ron DeSantis, yeah, what a sellout.
Yeah. Hey, well, that's too far, buddy. You've already gone too far. Who are you trying to save, man? You've already gone too far.
So like, there's this like whole back and forth thing here and there where like, basically, I don't even want to do this, but like, Kyle spends the next 10 minutes of this 20-minute video doing this back and forth play-by-play about it, going, here's why Ron DeSantis is bad. Here's why the person you just supported was really bad. But then he ends the video with, or like Kyle then pivots the video into this part.
DeSantis do. They lean into culture war stuff, and then they're just standard run-of-the-mill corrupt politicians serving corporations and screwing working people. Now, I show you all that. Remember, this Joe Rogan, this is the same Joe Rogan that we're talking about. Look at this. Remember this, guys? Let me make sure it's on 1.25. Look at this.
I really believe if Michelle Obama runs, she wins. She's good. She's great. She's the wife of the best president that we have had in our lifetime. I've never voted right wing in my life. I consider universal basic income a really good idea. I want free college education. Take it easy. Hello, Bernie.
How are you, Joe?
Wonderful. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I like Tulsi and I like Bernie. That's it.
Oh, yeah?
Everybody else can eat shit.
Look at you, fucking progressive.
Yeah. I think I'll probably vote for Bernie. I think he's looking out for the interests of the working people. And I think he wants people to have a better life and do better. And I'm all like...
I'm just going to skip through this because it's a montage of like... Joe Rogan saying left-leaning
trans rights,
things.
even universal health care. We're born in other countries and then brought over here as children, and these people, he said, he goes, not all Donald Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are awake in that side. But the January 6th thing is important.
And this is like, I'm pretty sure I see this like, this is a breaking points like bug right here. So this is like Crystal Ball, Kyle Kulinski's girlfriend. This is her show. And they're all on this narrative of like, hey, Joe Rogan's not that bad because Kyle Kulinski has been on the Joe Rogan podcast. Crystal Ball gets to go on a Bill Maher's show down the street. And like, they have these like little itches and touches with mainstream media that they try to criticize all the time, but they have to keep one foot in the door and show that like, hey, I'm your friend. I still want your massive audience to be able to like come on and bring for myself too. So like, why then, Kyle, are you gonna make this, let me zoom out here, why are you gonna make this like 15-minute long video and then show us this, no, remember,
K-pop, this, thanks Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to vomit.
Yeah, so this was re-uploaded by Breaking Points. It was made by someone else, but like, yeah. Let's listen to what Kyle has to say at the end of this video.
Everybody. And in fact, Eddie Izzard is one of my all-time favorite guests.
Oh, I love Izzard.
The right-wing thing is just an...
Look, Joe Rogan had a trans person on. Joe Rogan's fine with trans people.
Really fucking stupid. But as far as trans people, some trans people listening to this, I got nothing but love for you. For everybody. And in fact, Eddie Izzard is one of my all-time favorite guests.
I love Izzard.
The right-wing thing...
to be part of the party that's going to literally like abolish any kind of movement towards that, has hinting at possible SCOTUS moves in the future that's going to abolish gay marriage and take rights away from people from the LGBTQI plus community. So yeah, no. But that's my homie though, and I rock with trans people. Yeah, for sure. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, all of the most anti-trans stuff started on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like, why are they playing in women's sports? Why do they want a trophy? Obviously, their bodies are different.
Come on,
why can't they just be
her.
gay?
Look
like,
at
come on.
her.
I'm not going to change pronouns for you. The English language shouldn't change. Look at your all.
The most homophobic shit ever.
Transphobic.
On this show. Transphobic shit, all of it on this show with all his little buddies, because it's a buddy show, and suddenly I'm supposed to pretend, hey, hashtag thanks Joe Rogan.
It's just an easy way to dismiss me, because I'm not right-wing. I can't recommend your book, Race Matters, enough.
So there you have it.
Cut to him going, watching Planet of the Apes in a black neighborhood.
This is the same Joe Rogan who now is, sort of tepidly endorsing Ron DeSantis for president. And in my experience with Joe, first of all, Joe's a great guy. Second of all, he is one of the most open-minded people I've ever met, in the sense that if you make a good argument, he goes, you know what, I was wrong. That makes perfect.
Wrong. Because here's the thing.
Really?
If you make a good argument in front of Joe Rogan, then he will repeat your argument and go like, okay, yeah, cool, great point. You made a point to me in front of my face. I'm too lazy to try to refute that, okay? However, if you like try to repeat this, as I've shown out again, Joe Rogan doesn't take or retain any of this information. He will go back to spewing his right-wing talking points the next day. He'll go back to inviting Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson on the next day and saying, yeah, everything you're saying with radical Marxism is, or like postmodernism is all correct. Like it's ridiculous. It's detached. It's naive.
Hop off his tip, because it's absolutely not true. He's the most open-minded person ever. Remember the clip during COVID where he where he was talking about, like, they were talking about vaccines and efficacy and all that, and Jamie pulled up a clip showing, literally denying showing that Joe Rogan had pulled up like a fake article, And then they had posted the real stats and real statistics, and he's like, "Oh, well, that could be a fake thing." He's like, "That's called Scientific American." And he's like, "Well, I don't know. They can make that up." It's like, huh? So it's like he's not open minded. He's closed minded. He's an idiot himbo.
Perfect sense. And I mean, I know because it happened with.
Oh yeah, I gotta replay this part because like,
man, he is one of the most open-minded people I've ever met in the sense that if you make a good argument, he goes, "Man, you know what? I was wrong. That makes perfect sense." And I mean, I know because it happened with what was it? Paid maternity leave or paid paternity leave, paid time off, something like that. He made some comment that was against it. Crystal and I responded and showed all like the charts and the graphs and hey, here's what it's like in the U.S.
I'm not gonna sit through like 3 hours of Joe Rogan's podcast every week again, like I did that like 1 year to research whatever I was researching. But trust and believe he's done the same thing since then. But just like set it for a joke, because like, yeah, making fun of paid maternity leave and paid paternity leave. I guarantee you, he will still make fun of that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's made all kind of jokes on the show about
versus all the other countries. We sort of get
yeah.
True, we don't have any time off. Certainly no paid time off. This is about like looking out for working people, and he changed his mind on that. And this is something that he's done a number of times over the years.
Oh, thanks, Kyle. You're so cool.
So, look, I hope that I changed his mind with all these things I laid out for you here, because he's a very influential person. He's got the #1 podcast in the world. A lot of...
I got to get to the juicy part. Let's read some of his comments.
Kyle's the best, man. Hell yeah.
No. Here's a comment. Let me see if I can... I need to reshift some stuff around in OBS to make sure this like shows up properly. Because this is just... Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. So James Steele writes in, Joe Rogan is going through his Bill Maher transformation. Kyle is in denial.
Facts. That's such a good comment.
And I think it's already happened.
Yeah. Not going through. He's gone through.
Yeah. There we go. Let me there we go. I'm having just a grand old time in OBS this evening.
Hell yeah. Shout out OBS, dog.
Shout out OBS. Really fantastically uncursed program.
Hell yeah. OBS never has problems.
Actually, I will say this. OBS is not
Streamlabs.
Better than Streamlabs. And OBS has not given me any problems tonight. It's just been like I'm hosting and technical directing at the same time, and I don't have one of those stream decks yet.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, Syndicate 23 membership. Join that syndicate23.co. Get your boy Stream.
He wants an Elgato Stream Deck. Come on, now.
I do want a Stream Deck real bad. Anyways, yeah, Kyle's in denial. There's no way he supports these things. Kyle says about the guy who just admitted he supports these things. These are I'm sorting by like top comments here on his own video. So these are his own fans, his own subscribers, ripping him. Joe Rogan said something utterly stupid and uninformed. I'm shook, utterly shook by this. Surely not Joe.
Not my Joey. Hashtag thanks, Joe.
Kyle, man up. Joe is going off the deep end here. You need to stand up to this. Don't let your friendship blind you from realizing what's going on here.
Ugh.
This is what I've been saying. This is what I was saying. Kyle did this with Jimmy Dore and realized that was biting him in the ass. And now he's doing it with Joe Rogan, and his own audience is turning on it.
He's a little clout goblin. That's why he likes the clout.
Kyle, you don't need to keep defending Roman. He's not the same person he was a few years ago. He's taken a hard turn to the right. The friend you constantly go out of your way to defend, like he's your personal PR project, supports DeSantis, and you never saw this coming. Well, that's awkward.
Man, people be really, really fired up in these comments, dog.
Joe Rogan changes his mind with every guest. He's so open-minded you could lead him off a cliff.
Yeah, he's open-minded because every single person he talks to, he flips to their side. And coincidentally, he only talks to right-wing people.
Bernie's good friend Joe Biden. Kyle's good friend Joe Rogan. What's the difference? From my experience, Joe's a great guy. That's how Biden feels about McConnell.
Jesus Christ.
Kyle, it's time to get up on Joe. Texas has rotted his brain. He's like 80% right-wing guess, and he genuinely with a straight face says that Ben Shapiro's a good guy. What has he done for Florida that's admirable? Admirable in what fucking universe is what DeSantis has done for Florida admirable? And it just kind of goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah, people are really not feeling this video. I would love to get that extension so we can see the dislikes.
Oh yeah, dude.
I can still see Mitch McConnell's upper neck.
Dude, like I'm exhausted with the whole idea of people continuing to debate Joe Rogan, or like to debate the idea that Joe Rogan is not on the right, and Kyle Kulinski's in the lead of this. And I've said again, I'm in a really nice position right now to show my DMs with Kyle Kulinski talking about this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm still gonna take the high road here, but just gonna note that this is what my Twitter and messages looks like. And
however, if you are a member, you know,
yes. However, for Syndicate 23 members, yes. No, but like, I used to work closely with Kyle Kulinski. He follows me on Twitter. If I go to his Twitter account right now, one will see that. He doesn't follow a lot of people on Twitter. Just 1,000. That's enough to fill your feed for sure, but that's a good amount of people. He follows me. I can message him. I have messaged him. I've told him about I've told him that your naivety with people like Jimmy Dore has gotten you in trouble in the past and will get you in trouble again with people like Joe Rogan if you don't understand what people who've actually been close to Joe Rogan have known for a long time. And that, dude, Kyle Kulinski is at the age where he is making a run to be a major political pundit and, you know, transcend YouTube and, you know, really make a name for himself. And I think he's really good. I think he's really talented, but he has this blind spot for people he likes, which is hilarious because as someone who comes up on the left and independent media, we're supposed to be watching people who are biased, who let their own access, their ability to access political figures and their own bias against that, cloud them from the fact these political figures suck and are not doing their jobs. So, Kyle, you've grown your show for 10, 15 years now, and the ball's in your court where you have access to a really powerful political figure, and I hate to admit to myself that that's Joe Rogan, but, like, you're doing it, and Kyle, you're blowing it repeatedly. So I will become unignorable on this. I will keep hammering home on this because it's not just my ego. It's not just being right. It's not just how embarrassing it is that your fans are running circles around you when you're supposed to be a political commentator informing them. I think it's fine if your fans are smarter than you. I learn stuff from my audience all the time, right? There's so much stuff happening that it's easy to miss stuff, right? But if you're missing things this much that people would have seen from years ago, that other people in your audience have seen, that other people in your audience are seeing right now, and you're not listening to your audience on something as big as this, as friendship over persecution of people on your political side, dude, then just stop. Give up. What's the point? Like, you're clearly in it for ego and clout and your own interests. Kyle Kulinski's the Andrew Yang of political pundits. Completely empty and devoid of substance if he will go after his Joe Rogan fetish at the expense of queer and trans lives.
Man, Andrew Yang, that man fell off. But yeah, I think that, you know, Kyle Kulinski, I used to listen to him a lot before, not as much recently. He is biting off a lot of that Joe Rogan clout, and maybe his intentions are like, oh, you know, I'm still doing this because if I can hang in there and I could just get another conversation with him, I could lead him to the right direction. Because a lot of times I think when you're that talented, you feel like you have a real strong ability to steer people in the ways that you see are right. But I'm gonna keep a real big dog. That man is gone. That man is dusted. He's making $200 million a year. That man is gone, my friend. The progressive days are over when you're cashing in 9 digits a year. The progressive shit is a little bit over.
Yeah. to Bam's point, I'm gonna keep it real. I never liked Kyle. I always found him smug and pretentious. That's a lot of the early YouTube right. I would give that to Sam C. I mean the YouTube left. Sorry, and the secular, non-religious atheist left on YouTube. I think that could be said about Sam Cedar, Cenk Uygur, the Amazing Atheist, Bill Maher. I think that could be said about a lot of these folks because they came up at a time during the Bush years when mass mainstream media on the internet and on cable news was at its fever pitch, and God bless Kumi. It was all at its fever pitch, and there wasn't the same level of saturation from left-wing talk radio or left-wing internet media yet, and so you felt like you were shouting into the ether. You felt like you were crazy because there's so many other people around you treating Bush, a clear bumbling idiot, as like a smart leader. Because, you know, back then Fox News was falling in line with that own thing. And so, like, I'm not to defend it, of course, but it's to say that Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert kind of came up in the same sort of like almost talking down to because people need to be taught and almost acknowledge that the stupid things happening in front of them are indeed stupid. Now, their alternative was like this black and white thinking, it's either their way or my way. And their way was a very milquetoast, neoliberal kind of, can't we all get along? Like, I remember the Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert March to Restore Sanity and or Freedom that they did. It was like a whole out, like, Coachella for political nerds, where they did, like, stand-up comedy on a hokey stage, trying to be like, we're going to make America calm again. We're all just going to chill out and enjoy episodes of South Park and relax. So me and I, Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart, can finally retire and write books. And things worked very well after that. But, you know, like Kyle Kulinski comes from this era and comes from this period. But I think that, and I've given credit to Cenk in the past, I'll do it again here in contrast to Kyle Kulinski, you do have to adjust and change your approach and how you speak about these things over time because the audiences change, the audiences evolve, and the audiences may not, you know, newer audiences may not, they have different upbringings, different experiences. They may not take as kindly to certain tones or reactions. So like when Cenk had, you know, his old quote unquote satirical, really sexist sounding blog posts come up a while ago, there's a whole generation of people who are like, what? I mean, I hear you say all this other stuff, Cenk, but like, what? And he had to kind of answer for that and kind of balance out, okay, here's all the things I've done since then versus my done comedy before that, weigh it out, and I think you can make like a balanced solution. But there needs to be an ability to evolve is what I'm trying to say, and Kyle Kulinski doesn't really show that ability to evolve. He doesn't show that ability like I always say, when he stuck his neck out for Jimmy Dore, when Jimmy Dore was laughing about sexually harassing Anna Kasparian, and Kyle Kulinski learned that, okay, by agreeing with Jimmy Dore 90% and disagreeing with him 10%, what that's going to get me is Jimmy Dore making an hour-and-a-half long screaming rant about how Kyle Kulinski is a sellout and a fake and that I can't win anyways. Just like people were telling him the whole time that Jimmy Dore is full of shit, he doesn't read things, he's not really progressive, he's not really have these interests, that Kyle should have caught himself at that moment and going, wow, I was naive. I let my own connections to people get the best of me, and I gave him more credit than credit was due, even though my audience, people closer to me in the political space who have more relationship to him, were trying to warn me. I should take this as a learning moment and listen to some of these people who have proven themselves right and remember that for next time. Instead, he takes being away from people in political media as a virtue. He takes the fact that, oh, I don't pay attention to the group chats. I don't pay attention to what's on Twitter and what other people are saying. I just take in the news myself. Okay, well, you're not exposed to some of those biases that are out there, and they're definitely out there. But you're in your own bubble. And yeah, my last point on that is that it is sad and disgusting to watch someone who I consider a friend, who maybe I'm holding to a higher regard because of this, get blinded by their friendship by someone who is so clearly politically against them and people who they supposedly stand up for.
Yeah. No, and I definitely can see that point, and it's always hard to realize people that you've had admiration for in a friendship level or a working space level or just idol, role model, whatever space, not veering the path that you felt like would be kind of really easy to do when you just see them still on the other side, and you're just like, what are you doing over there? You know, like, come on, man, like, we're all better than this. We know better than this. Like, come on, man, let's get it together. And it's tough. It's just tough to see that.
Yeah, hate to see it. Now, let me see. So, I'm tired of shit.
Me too. No Valorant. No Valorant.
No Valorant. You can't do it. But humor me. 5 minutes. Drake. Honestly, never mind. Why?
Oh, okay. Segment over. Drake. Honestly, never mind.
Yeah. Just honestly, never mind. Fuck it. I don't want to do it.
And stream.
Yeah. Let's talk about honestly, never mind.
Let's talk about it a little bit.
So you liked it. I hated it. I have a whole music podcast. We got to talk a lot about why I hated it. You're a Drake. I can't say that word. Fan.
I will say this. Am I an avid listener of Drake albums? No. What's the last Drake album I liked? Maybe More Life. I don't really like Drake albums. I don't like that. It's not really my style. Like Toronto rap, I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Like, but I have an admiration I know when someone makes hits. I mean, we know the man makes hits. We see his numbers. It's bonkers. His numbers are crazy. What I liked about this album is that hip hop, to me, is extremely mundane and boring. It's the same damn thing over and over. It's one person breaks through, and then all these corporate demons give you 15 people that they've signed that are exactly the same to try to get that person to write off the clock from previous. So when I heard Honestly Nevermind, I was like, whoa. The only thing that what I liked most about it, it reminded me of Caesar in 2011, who had just was introduced into house music and was listening to this. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't listen to this, but I'm kind of feeling this a little bit. It gave me that nostalgic feeling of enjoying that music back then. And obviously music, I adapt the music and I've moved on since then. So I liked it in that sense. Do I think the album is full of nonstop hits? No. But is there songs I really like on there? Absolutely. And I think it's a good album. I think it, and I think the memes are even funnier. Like the memes are way better than the album. The memes have me dead, and I love it. So I think it's a good album. You guys on Audio Face, you guys love getting the explosive takes. So when you guys started dissing Juice WRLD, I knew I was done here. Or Future, I was done.
We got some love for Future every once in a while. I have to puff on a few Zooties first, but I'm all good with Future.
A little Dirty Sprite, works out for you.
No, but I still have the Kyle Kulinski Twitter above me. I'm about to rage, but no. Drake, let me rage for another reason. No, so I love when artists do things different. It's main mantra on Audio Face. Even if you give me a bad album and you try to do something different, I will generally say pretty much like that. Bad album, I didn't like the execution, but I like that you tried something different. Drake has a unique opportunity to where he has done nothing but, in my opinion, and I think to maybe somewhat of your opinion, but make a lot of that boring hip-hop, so to speak, right? Like that sort of repetitive... the songs do well and they hit well because it's our generation's elevator music. You can play it in the background, it kind of fades in the background. Anyone can have a conversation. You can sway your head a little bit. You don't have to dance or whatever. Drake, you could do.
This man just got on here and said this generation's elevator music.
Talk about this generation. What's the name of?
You're talking about that goddamn Drake, goddamn boy, it's elevator music now.
Where's the play the Net King Cole?
Come on, man, like, yeah. Go continue point.
I'll make this point quicker than my Kyle Kulinski points, I swear. But like, would it be a power report without a damn Theonet soliloquy? But I found the album to be. I guess my quick point was that, like, I like house music just as much as the next person. I just like finished music. I like it to be finished. Like, I think that for an artist of Drake's stature, you can get so many producers to work with you. You can execute this in such a good way. Why do you do this sort of like half-hearted? Why do you just start wailing for the last like back half of Falling Back? Why don't you go back to the drawing board and go, nope, this song's half finished. Let me get a feature on here. You know what? Let me do an interlude that like makes people like introduce them to the album. Let me introduce them to something different. Let me make the drops a little bit louder. Let me make it thump a little bit harder so people actually know to dance and not just bop their heads a little bit, right? Like, I feel like there's so much that like could have been done, but for Drake to just kind of go like, no, this is it. This is the groundbreaking, game-changing album that's out there, when there are really good like house music acts that are really breaking the scene right now. Like techno's doing like a really, really good thing. I just thought it was a little bit like lazy, honestly.
No, I think that the songs I don't like is Bam said that it's too many lyrics. I think that the best parts of the song is like when he's given like ad lib and like you're just kind of listening to the rhythm and the flow of the music. I think that some of those songs he's doing a lot of singy stuff and I'm like, oh no, here we go. We're 2010 again. Like, come on, man, Drake. I don't want to hear the singing stuff, but some of that I didn't think was blended well with it, but I kind of really like the sound of the album personally. I think that some songs he did on there were actually really good as well too, but a lot of the skips I have are just songs that felt very like you're just doing too much on this. And I'm like, I don't know if you're just trying to fill time or like show effort, but like Bam said, if he did it kind of like Metro Boomin tapes, whenever Metro Boomin drop, he also drops the instrumental on Spotify as well with the album. If he dropped all instrumentals, that'd be kind of cool too, because I think there's some really cool sounds in there, but it does seem like it's almost literally ruined a little bit by Drake. But I think it's a good album. That's my take on that.
I think Sticky is the only redeemable part of that album. I even think that Jimmy Cooks is like Cooks is good. I think it's a lackluster performance from both 21 Savage and Drake. I think they've both done better separately. I think they've both done better together. Yeah, what was their last song? Like Knife Talk? I couldn't stand Knife Talk when it came out. That song is like a country mile 5 times better than Jimmy Cooks. Like, no, I mean like, and
I like the songs I like on the album was A Keeper, Calling My Name, Massive, Flights Booked, Tie That Binds, and Jimmy Cooks, and of course Sticky too. Those are kind of my favorites on there personally. The other ones I was like,
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
No, Dan, you're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
You're gonna tell me you had the intro on repeat too?
No, what the fuck? No, hell no.
I don't know if you remember, even last year I said that, listen, Drake and Kanye are in this like Cold War over Donda versus Certified Lover Boy, and I was like, listen, Drake hasn't released an inspiring album to me since If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. Not necessarily even inspiring, just like a solid, like decent album, so to speak, right? You're talking about Scorpion, sure. And you know what? I think More Life, was where we can come to an agreement. I think More Life was a really solid project that a lot of people didn't like back then, that I think ended up standing the test of time, because it had songs that were just constantly playing, like Teenage Fever, the Get It Together, Passion Fruit.
The Portland one with the Migos was big. Passion Fruit, those first 4 Barbados Drake impersonation songs.
Yeah, but like this album, Honestly Nevermind, was like 55 minutes of Passion Fruit.
I'll agree with you this. I'll agree with you. That's a great take.
As that's from Sean. I'm stealing it from Sean.
Have I listened to If You Really Is Too Late since it came out? No. Have I listened to no, I haven't. But have I gone back and if I could listen to More Life, I'd be like, it's kind of bangs again. It has like that because it has like that Caribbean sound to it. I think it's easy to kind of pick that up and kind of vibe a little bit. But when he does a lot of those very like rap albums, it's like he's, I think, really trying to like show and adhere to a different crowd. That's not for me. I think for different crowds to show that he can do that. Those aren't for me, and I'm just like, this isn't really my vibe, so I'm good. And then what was the album he did? Was it Scorpion that had like? No, what was the one that he did? It had like WizKid on it. That was like that's some good songs in there too. But yeah,
Dark Lane demo tape? No, that's a different one.
No, the one that had One Dance and all that. That was a big album.
Oh, that
One Dance.
Oh yeah, that was Views.
Views, yeah, Views was like a big album too. There was some big hits on there.
It's like Hotline Bling.
Yeah, Hotline Bling, classic, legendary song. We love a pro sex worker song. We love that song.
What isn't there that one line in Sticky that's like, if she's alone, she's a freak one. If she's it's like whatever, she's a police one.
No, look at it. Somebody gonna make a great song off the Never Seen Before Trump speech outtakes.
Yesterday, let's give it a yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't like yesterday.
Yesterday and rap about Trump not hating the word yesterday is too hard for him.
Yesterday's too hard. Oh, spitting these bars. Please.
Please, yes, we need that. We need that ASAP.
Bring him back ASAP. Throw back to when Trump got a pardon for ASAP Rocky.
Maybe that one conservative country rapper dude can come on and do that.
You mean Kodak Black?
Kodak Black, but what is it? But I'm white or whatever. That meme. Kodak Black, but when you see me, I'm white.
Oh man. Okay, we're in the words of Bam. Y'all need to go to sleep.
We're delirious now.
Yeah.
This is after hours.
Yeah, Ceez, thank you very much for joining me on this ride.
Been a blast. To many more after this, please. Been a blast.
Yeah. Thank you all, listeners. Got a good amount of new followers. Thank you all very much.
Hell yeah.
We're going to be, God willing, doing more Twitch streams as we lead up to the midterm elections. This is kind of like a dry run to see if I could manage to produce one of these and keep it going. But haven't done a streaming show in a good year or so. I said the boy still got it. The boy still got it.
The producer, technical support, camera work, everything. Dan does it. Big shout out to Dan. He does so much work behind the scenes that y'all don't know. This man is a beast.
I only do what other Twitch streamers do very well, and worked off of my work to become very Twitch famous off the background. Anyways, so Bam also joining us in the chat below. Thank you very much for joining us in chat. He can be found on PowerPort episodes. We did a January 6th coverage just with him actually over the past Power episode, like one of the most past Power Report episodes. Make sure you check that out. Lula 22. Hell yeah, we're gonna talk. We got plenty of time in between now and all the elections to talk about the Brazilian elections. We talk about the British elections. We gotta talk about the Canada elections. We got global correspondence here on Power Report. All right, so don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and seriously, appreciate you very much. Also, seriously, become a Syndicate 23 member so your homeboy can get a stream deck. Join.syndicate23.co.
An XXL one.
But no, we don't do the Biggie Small stream deck right here. You can't do shit with that. 6 keys. I'll use my number pad at that point.
He wants the Elgato XL stream deck, please.
Cheers. All right.